You've gone from a heroin addict with an almighty habit to a now successful podcast host, doing work for charity, giving back, helping others, making sure your cup is so overflowing that you can give back.
I had these shoes, and on the soles of them, I cut the soles out so I could stick the money in there. So I had two of my soles full with notes, and my bum cheeks filled with a couple hundred as well. He was a big, very intimidating guy, bigger than me, scars all over his face. He's got them eyes that got no soul in them. And was just a wild guy, and he'd collect debts for them, he'd kidnap people. He's got a massive scar, it's like a shark bite there, and on his head and there where he got attacked by machetes. They were waiting for him. People ain't gonna take that, are they? That was probably the worst I seen. It was more like he was torturing them. He was stamping on their heads, fucking them up, like beating them to a pulp. I got jumped in a trap house by these lads in the middle of Kettering. I had murder up there. Coming home to my nan with fucking blood all over my face, some stranger walking me to my nan's. I caused mayhem up there, and I almost fucking led her into an early grave. I remember the first time I went to jail, and everyone was like, "Is this your first time?" And I went, "No, this is my only time."
You was out thieving, cheating, deceiving, robbing, lying. You were skinny as a rake. You were covered in scabs. You was a con man. That's who you were. That's what you were doing when you had that shit in your system.
Yeah.
So that's what you were doing. That's the bad and the ugly. Now let's talk about the good, because there's now plenty of that. There's good in abundance now. So what is Cullan Mais doing now? I'm delighted you've come on. You've come a hell of a long way from where you once were, and you've been in the Daily Mail recently, Lad Bible, Unilad, all the big media outlets for your successful journey, where you once were to where you are now. You're now, to very, very briefly summarize, and we're gonna fill in the massive gap in between. You've gone from a heroin addict with an almighty habit to a now successful podcast host, doing work for charity, giving back, helping others, making sure your cup is so overflowing that you can give back. You can quench other people's thirst with your generosity. And I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's take it right back to the start. And I believe this is the first time you've given your full story on a podcast, which is really, really nice for me to do, because I've only had a few people I can do that with, and they're the ones I enjoy the most. And I think there's a great exchange of value, because it's therapy, it's counseling, and we take it right back to the start. And people that are watching this, they'll be able to relate, if not to all of it, to some bits, to parts of your journey, to a decade here, to a few years there. It's going to help a lot of people. So first and foremost, where are you from?
Well, thank you, Liam, first of all, for the introduction. I'm from Cardiff, capital city of Wales, from an area called Fairwater, or Pentrabane, kind of the same area. Typical council estate, loving family. My mother and father have always been there for me. My childhood was, I've always said this, I've always had fond memories of my childhood. When I went further down the line and went down those depths of addiction, I always looked back and tried to dig for trauma, try and find out, well, what was it? Because you meet other addicts who have had some horrific lives, and you think, oh, my life wasn't that bad. Why am I doing this? So my childhood was great, My father was the coach of our rugby team, our football team, our baseball team in the summer. He was like the father figure of my age. To all my mates, he was like the big dad, he would drive us around in he had a minibus. He used to work for the naughty kids in the schools. So the kids and I was one of them, those kids who couldn't engage in mainstream education, he would pick them up in the minibus and he'd take them to the music studio, bricklaying, take them down the beach, these type of things. So in his spare time, obviously he had the minibus, he would take us all in a minibus and we'd go wherever for the weekend, So my childhood was great. I'm doing a lot of counseling literally now, and I'm peeling back things that I've probably skipped over telling my story when I do public talking and stuff. But I've learned a lot lately that kind of gives me the answer to why I've gone down the road I've gone. When I was very young, I lived with my grandmother for like the first year, I would say. I was always there. My mum had PTSD when she first had me. And I lived with my grandmother. She only lived around the corner, but I kind of remember those memories quite a lot. And then the other thing in my childhood was, although my mother and father were everything for me, they gave me everything. I had an uncle, my father's brother, who was like chalk and cheese with my dad. He went to jail for murder, death by dangerous drive it was actually. He was 15 at the time, 1996, joyriding's at the highest of heights. And he was with a few of his mates one night drinking. He was going to see his girlfriend in Caerphilly, which is on the outskirts of Cardiff. And he's took a girl and a little boy over the bonnet. The boy had severe injuries. The girl died. His mates fled. He was the only one who stayed. He was very naive, had a lot of problems. He stayed. She died in his arms. So growing up in school, although I had this sheltered childhood, the dinner ladies, the teachers, people who didn't really know me or my family, when they knew my surname was Mace, oh, that's Auntie Mace's family. These are Mace, these are Mace. And I always remember that as a kid. Like, I would get judged for my surname. And the other thing I'd hear quite a lot of is they'd call my uncle a kiddie killer. Now, when I think of kiddie killers, I think of Ian Huntley, these type of dreadful, sadistic pedophiles, rapists, murderers.
Purposeful.
We probably all know someone who's gone in a car and drink driving and killed someone on accident. And that's all he was. And he was a kid himself. So although I had this like great childhood, I used to remember once a week, we used to go up to like Portland jail, Exeter, Park. We travel all around the country to visit my uncle. And I remembered it vividly, and I was always like, why can't he come on with us? And every time he would come, he would always have like a black eye or, he was always in the wars, like when he was in there, So that stuck by me. But because it's important to know, because it plays a big part into my journey of addiction later on. Although he went to prison for that, like I remember having visits to my nan, my father, always saying, just tell us who it was. Tell us who it was. We'll get you out of here. Basically saying that it wasn't him driving, but he never ever grassed anyone up and he'd done the time himself. I think he'd done 8 years. And I looked up to him. I think, where I'm from and most council estate lads, if you had, or you've been to jail, it's a bit of a reputation. You look up to these people. And because I knew the truth, that this was an accident, what happened, I kind of looked up to him for a bit. It was a different world to me going there on the weekends and seeing him, So that was there. And then growing up into like high school and stuff, I started to notice I was a bit different. Now, in the sense where on face value, I wasn't. Everyone would think I was overconfident. I got on with everyone. I didn't really, I had a set of friends who were my diehard friends, but I would hang around with everyone. I'd hang around with the moshers. I'd hang around with the gay kids. I'd hang around with the smokers. I'd hang around with the sports lads. And I hated bullies. I hated bullies as well. Like, I was always for the underdog, And I was anti-drugs because of my uncle. Like my father, he's never smoked a fag in his life. He has a drink on the weekends, but my family were anti-drugs. That was distilled in me from a young age because of my uncle. So like year 7, 8, and 9 in high school for me was, I was, knuckled down. I was a bit of a class clown, but I never went on the knock, never smoked weed, never smoked fags, didn't drink. And all my other mates did. And then it kind of turned around for me in like year 10 and 11. So when I say like I was a bit different, what it was I was very attached to my family. Like didn't want to leave them. My mum and dad say to this day that like on my estate where I lived, there was a field across the road, and they'd say I'd come back every 20 minutes, you know, and they'd be like, we're not going nowhere, Carl, because I used to think that they were going to leave me. And I don't, like, looking back at this counselling I do and now, like, I think it's because in my life, my mother, and there's a few others in my life that kind of just left me. My mother didn't leave me, but, you know, I lived with my grandmother at a young age, and it was always, looking back now at what I've been doing, there's this pattern, and I was very attached. So anxiety for me was a big thing, massive. And it morphed, sorry, go on.
But do you think, was that separation anxiety?
I think it was, yeah. Because my dad was a taxi driver in the nights, and I couldn't go to sleep without him home. If I wanted to sleep over any of the boys' houses, I was ringing my mum at 9 o'clock saying, I got a bad belly, I need to come home. You know, any sleepovers were over my house. You know, I'd have 5, 6 boys over my house sleeping, you know, after football on a Saturday, stay over type of thing, you know. So, you know, I still had that like relationship with sleepovers, but it was always at my house. I would never stay over any of theirs. And the time it really hit home for me was in year 7. Went to Llangrannog, which is like a, you know, with a school. And we got up there and I started crying, you know, in like the playroom where there was like pool tables and that. I started crying, and I remember going into the office, ringing my mum and dad saying, I want to come home and all. And everyone just looking at me like, why is he crying? What a shithouse. But yeah, I think it was separation anxiety. I always thought something bad was going to happen to my loved ones. So what I did was I developed, it's OCD, they call it, you know, and when we were speaking earlier, when people think of OCD, they think, oh, you're a clean freak. Well, it's not the case all the time. There are other avenues at bay, really. And my OCD was making sure that things were in place so my family were okay, or something bad wouldn't happen to my loved ones or myself. So I'd wear certain things, I'd walk certain routes, I'd touch certain things, I'd, you know, make sure that, you know, you get the classic ones. You know, people say, oh yeah, I got OCD, I got to have even numbers. They were just embedded in me. Like that wasn't even something I would even have to think about. That was natural, you know, even numbers, volumes, trainers, light switches, everything in 4s and 6s, like you said, or that even number. They happen now, like, that's just natural. But then there would be other ones that would come into play depending on the situation. Like, for example, if my mother and father went away for the weekend, you know, my anxiety is through the roof. So, you know, where I could be walking down the shop and then like something in my head is, you've got to walk around that lamppost and you've got to do a roly-poly on the bank. Otherwise, they're going to die. They're going to die in a plane crash. Just mad shit. But this was something I couldn't control. And I think around like 2007, 2008, 2009, you know, mental health has always been there. So we've all, you know, it's always been something.
Just not been spoke about as a free.
No, exactly. And I wasn't going to the doctors to say, I'm doing roly-polies on the main road. Like, you know, I wasn't going to do that. Yeah, and my mates used to like, they made a joke of it. I've said it before. We were getting chased by the police one time, me and the boys, and I missed the lamppost. And I had to go back and touch the lamppost. And the boys were like, what's he doing? And my best mate who knew me, you know, he went, oh, it's all right, he's missed the lamppost. And the cop was looking at me like, is he coming back? Like, literally, I was getting chased by the police. And because I missed the lamppost, I had to go back and touch it. And yeah, it was something I had to do, you know, and you get counseling now and they go, well, have you ever tried not to do it? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why? It's like I don't want to have that unknown feeling if something does happen. It's kind of similar to like if you're doing the lottery. Imagine you do the lottery every day, every week you do the lottery, same numbers. And in that 1 week, you don't do it and your numbers come in. You'd be fucking devil, wouldn't you? I just want to make like, it's just in case for me. I think that's kind of what it is. And another thing I kind of think it is as well is a way to describe it. It's like karma. It's you do this and that will happen, you know? That's
and you're kind of making up the game. You're making up the game and the rules in your own mind. If I do that, that will be okay. Yeah.
It's bizarre. When I in the summer we used to play baseball. So in Wales, we call baseball. It's not American baseball. British baseball is a dying sport now, but it was a big sport in Wales, in the Dock City. So Cardiff, Newport in Wales, and then Liverpool and Birkenhead. These were massive areas that played British baseball. I capped Wales. I went up to Liverpool, played against England, and our base won. But when I played baseball, I used to bite the bat with my teeth, and I do it 4 times before the guy would throw the ball. And the voice
Carefully, I hope.
Yeah. No, but everyone was like, "What the fuck is this guy?" But everyone just knew. My mates knew. My mum and dad knew, and like, I think my mum and dad just didn't want to like admit that I had this fucking problem. They just thought it was just fucking weird, like, you know, because we don't like to think we think our kids are perfect, don't we? And they didn't refer me to a doctor's to say you need to sort this out. It was just something I shrugged off at the time, So yeah, that was there massively at a young age, and then I suppose like everywhere in Britain, you know, everyone's smoking weed. All my mates are smoking weed. I feel a bit left out, you know. So I tried smoking weed one day, and my mum and dad, like I said, they were very. It's funny because my mum and dad were so against drugs. So this is why I feel for them. They done their best to protect me from drugs, and I became a smackhead. You know, that's why I say to parents, like, you know, don't tell your kids you can't do this, you can't do that. Because all my other mates, whose mothers didn't really care if they smoked weed, they've got mortgages, they're successful. You know, I was the one who went down it, even though my mum and dad did everything for me. You know, whatever I wanted, I had. If not the second best.
Are they still together now?
They're still together now.
And they were solid back when you were
solid.
young? What? You said your mum had PTSD?
You know when like people have babies and they just go fucking...
postnatal depression.
Yes, that's the one. And she couldn't hold me.
Oh, so she had postnatal depression.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, ma'am.
I was trying to connect dots. When you said she had PTSD, I was thinking, okay,
something didn't happen to her. No.
Did trauma pass through your mum to you?
But yeah, when she had me, she just said I just couldn't hold you. And she obviously, you know, she was there for me, but I spent a lot of time down my grandmother's. And I never, like I said, it's only doing this counselling lately. He said, that's not even a big deal, but it's the other times it happened as well, that they've all come together and they've built this monster up in you of worrying about people leaving you, or not leaving you, but losing people. So yeah, that was that. And then I started smoking weed, and straight away with OCD, addictive personality, I fucking loved it. And straight away, it took away a lot of those anxieties. So I got really addicted really quickly.
Smoking weed.
Yeah.
And how old was you?
This is like 16.
So still at school?
Yeah, still at school. Like it's like 2 years left in high school. So, you know, I always got told this growing up. Year 7, 8 and 9, mess around. Year 9, 10 and 11, knuckle down GCSEs. But mine was the other way round. I was like a good kid when all my mates were fucking round. And then when they knuckled down for GCSEs, I went off the radar. I started going on the knock, you know, not going to school. And then that's when I ended up going on the minibuses to the music studios because they just couldn't fucking deal with me. What happened was I got so obsessed with weed, like, you know, I ended up being the kid who would have one puff of a spliff and, you know, a couple of chewing gums, spray. Oh, my mum's going to kill me, to being the biggest weed head on my estate. And, you know, honing in my PlayStations and selling my clothes
for weed.
For weed.
Oh, so you was doing that for weed.
Yeah.
I mean, normally you'd associate selling your belongings to get your fix for smack.
For physical things, physical withdrawals.
Who introduced you to weed?
Just the boys on the estate. Like,
were they older?
Some older, some my age. Some of them have been smoking weed since day one. You know, come on, I'll have a puff. And I never did. You know, so when I say introduce, it was always around me. I just, you know, if someone's smoking a fag, I take it out and say, stop smoking that, you little mug. You know, and then when I did try it, I fucking loved it. But it got to a point where I abused it that much that the reason I took it in the first place to take away all these worries ended up being the reason why I had to stop taking it. Because anything you abuse, it'll come back to bite you on the ass. And I was smoking weed that much that it ended up making me paranoid. So I'd have a puff and fucking, I remember one time my dad was like, I just left school. He went, right, you're going to get a fucking job. You're going to fucking make a CV. You go into town and you're going to put fucking CVs everywhere. I got on the bus stop. I had the CVs. As I'm waiting on the bus, like, and I looked in my pocket, I had half a spliff. I went, I'll have a puff of that. 2 drags. I don't even remember what I did. I never went in any shops. I got to town, just walked around for like an hour. Thought everyone was watching me and wanted to kill me. Went home. He said, did you do your CVs? I went, yeah. I never give one CV in. And I knew then, fuck, I can't do this weed, mate. It really fucking wanged me out.
How long do you think, I mean, I concur totally. I find that a lot of people that are solid weed smokers, if you criticize weed or you object or you even put your own negative experience to them, they will defend it as if it's their family. Mate. It's like, it's a substance. It's not a relative. It's not a friend. It's just a substance. I'm telling you, it made me have the most severe anxiety and panic attacks, and you're defending it like I'm talking about your mum. It's bizarre. Do you find that?
Oh, mate, I done the Lad Bible interview, and I said on there that weed was a gateway for me. Fucking hell, mate. Weed isn't a gateway drug. How dare you? Weed. I'm not saying weed is the gateway drug. I'm saying it was for me. What I'm, when you get all these legalized cannabis people calling me an idiot and all that because I've said weed was a gateway. I'm not saying that everyone who smokes weed is on heroin, but everyone on heroin started on weed. Mark my words. I did. Even before, I didn't even drink before the weed, really. Weed was like the first thing for me. I do get that. And obviously I work in substance misuse services as well. And people just think cannabis is, it's harmless. Well, no, it fucks a lot of people up, mate.
Just so you know, weed, puff, solid, Rocky, soap bar, all of them. That was my gateway to heavier drugs as well.
Yes.
And I also had the same experience you did. Severe mind-altering experiences just off weed where people think it's absolutely harmless and they defend it like it's one of their own children. My personal experience is the same as yours. It absolutely fried my brain really badly, and it got me onto the next drug, then the next drug, then the next drug. But I do know people that have smoked weed for 20, 30 years and they've never had the same experience of paranoia.
Not the paranoia.
Do you remember when it come on you the very first time?
Oh, mate, it's the fucking worst feeling ever. I thought everyone I've done wrong in my life were in my local community centre coming to kill me. And I genuinely believed that. I remembered again, years down the line, I was doing a heroin rattle in Northampton in my grandmother's, and I had a puff. And again, I thought everyone in Kettering knew I was there and they were coming to kill me. And I thought, fuck this. I ain't smoking weed again. And even these people who have smoked it for years, you see some of them now and they say, I wish I didn't start, mate, because my head's fried. Some of them do. And I get these people who are just immune to it. And I think fair play to you. I wish I was. But no, I've seen a lot of mates change from weed. Fucking like their heads are fried.
Lost their ambition.
Yeah. And even though I went on to heavier stuff, I feel I'm more sane than some of them because it was just pure weed all the way along. People will kill me for this, mate. I'm telling you, but
I know they will. But this is your story.
Yeah, I'm saying how it was for me.
And you can't. If something makes you feel a certain way, no one can argue with how you feel. And if something makes you feel anxious and scared, let's have it right. The first time that weed turns on you, it's frightening. It's scary. You feel, you become that little boy again, that scared child, and you just want someone help me.
That's exactly what it is.
Someone help me.
And it stays there for ages.
Years. And then everything you do afterwards, it sort of reminds you of that feeling. Yeah. You get a hangover, that withdrawal.
Yeah.
It makes you feel anxious. You go on to amphetamine. You come down off that. You feel like it all brings it back to that horrible, distorted, disturbing feeling of paranoia and loss of control of your mind. Scary.
Yeah.
If you can avoid ever doing it,
don't do it. I would say to people like, and especially in this day and age, look at the weed now. It ain't even, when I started, I know you're a bit older, so I won't. But it was always Leb. It was always Rock. Rocky.
Yeah. See, I reference Rocky.
Yeah,
I'm not that old.
People always say, well, Rocky. It was Rocky, you know? When I started, I had like the best of both worlds. Like Bud was coming. We had like K2, Blue Cheese, Northern Lights.
Northern Lights.
Yes. Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Purple Haze. You know, all these. But now you get these people, right? And you're hearing stories of people actually clucking from it because of the chemicals they're putting in it. So if anyone's just starting out, you know, you see these, anything that's got bright lights on a packet ain't good for you, mate. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you're seeing. So for me, it started to fucking have a bad effect on me. But because I knew that something I could take took away something for however long it was, I looked for the next thing.
Yeah.
And I was looking for other things. And this is kind of where my story took a turn for the worse, because it all happened so quick for me. And people used to be like, they couldn't believe that I became a heroin addict because it was only a year and a half ago. I was a normal kid.
Yeah, so smoking weed at 16, then in the space of 18 months, it escalated enormously.
Yeah. So what happened was I started drinking, taking pills, Valium, pre-gabs.
Pills, ecstasy.
Anything really. That weed kind of give me the go-ahead to say, okay, I can take stuff.
Do you remember the order? How it went? From weed, what was the next drug that you experimented with?
Weed was the very first thing, right? You're not going to believe it when I say it. It was weed, right? Then it was drinking and a bit of coke. Then it was crack. I tried crack. Stayed away from it then. Then it was ecstasy. I took ecstasy a few times, but I was always scared. When people say I'm crazy, but like ketamine, I've never taken because I'm really scared of those drugs. And they say, well, you take heroin, but you wouldn't take ketamine. But yeah, it was weed, drink and coke, crack. Then it was ecstasy. And then all the other things, you know, all the Valiums, the pre-gabs, the downers. That's all it went.
You done that in quick succession because I remember smoking something's one thing.
Yeah.
Because back when I was younger, there would be adverts marketing and championing people smoking Marlboro cigarettes, getting off their horse. So it was glamorized. So smoking didn't seem like a big thing, but the thought of actually snorting something that seemed like it was a big thing. It was big league. That's really taking drugs. Smoking a spliff, you think, smoking, sniffing something, that's heavy duty. But you went straight from smoking weed, then the next one was bam, 55-pound note hanging out your nose. 10.
Yeah, it was, but I never ever bought a gram of, and people probably won't believe it. I never bought a gram of sniff. I just had a lot of cheeky line off someone. It wasn't like I was sniffing flat out all night on a bender. And during that time as well, I was still smoking weed whilst I tried the cocaine. Like the paranoia bit came to a bit of a crash. Like I'd say halfway through smoking weed, I started drinking. And then I tried the cocaine. And then when I had that proper bad paranoia on the weed, that's when I went to the downers like Valium and other stuff. But halfway through, I tried it. But do you know what I was? We'd have a youth game, a rugby game on a Saturday. And all the boys, we'd go back to the pub. They'd all chip in 3 ways on a gram of sniff. I go up with a bag of weed. So I'm drinking, but I'm in the beer garden smoking weed. And they're in the toilet sniffing. I was always a downer. Always a downer kind of guy.
And they're very different vibes, innit?
Yeah. I was in the garden with the old fucking people smoking weed, and they were in the fucking toilets, fucking bashing up, having keys and stuff. It was very different. I always loved my downers. So yeah, it was that. And then just to go over to the crack bit quickly, I was young when I tried crack as well. And I'm doing a documentary on it now. Like I've actually been co-producing it with the BBC. I got my opinions on the BBC, but the fact that they're willing to platform it is why I'm doing it. But it's about the rise of crack use in working class and middle class areas. Where I'm from, like your average builder is piping on the weekends. If you sniff, you smoke crack.
Yeah, explain what crack is.
So crack is cocaine. It's in a different form. So it's in a smokable form, and it's just a process of washing it back with either bicarbonate soda, ammonia, these type of things that you put in it to turn it into a rock form to be able to smoke it.
So I'd buy I buy a wrap of cocaine. I buy grams. I've got a gram of cocaine in powder format.
Yeah.
How do I turn that into a rock?
So I'd use a spoon to burn it on. So you've got the spoon. Yeah, you've got the cocaine. I'm not trying to teach anyone yet. You've got the spoon, cocaine on the spoon, bit of water, start burning it, add the bicarb, keep burning it till it all bubbles up. And then you get like a knife, a butter knife, say, and just start whipping it. And what'll happen is slowly it will form into like a white rock. And you draw, there'll still be fluids in it like water, but you're burning the water out of it basically, and the other chemicals. And then it'll dry up. You can either dry it on tissue or on the edge of the butter knife that you've got. It will just start to congeal and turn into rock form, and you smoke that.
So yeah, not that you weren't teaching people how to start smoking crack there and make rocks, but what that will do, it will help people that suspect somebody could be smoking crack. They're the signs you need to look out for.
Yeah, of course. And that's just, if you're doing
spoons on the side, burnt spoon on the side.
Yeah. If you see a spoon and it's black, people think straight away it's heroin, but it's not just heroin, it could be coke. Yeah. And, that's just on a little scale. You can do them in big scales in the microwave with a Pyrex glass and just chuck it in the microwave and heat it up that way. There's different ways, different bulks of doing it. Like you've probably seen Get Rich or Try Die when he does it in the... He's with the ice cubes. Have you seen that?
50 Cent.
Yeah. And Majestic does it. He goes, this is going to change the game. That's in a bigger bulk. But if you're just a pauper like me and you're buying a gram and just having like 2-3 licks off it, because that's all you get off a gram of coke, you probably get 3 hits of crack. So not much.
So the sensation is it's the same product, but one you're sniffing, one you're smoking.
It's just a different ball game, mate. Honestly, the hit, the taste is beautiful. It's a creamy, vanilla-y, Moorish. That's the word, Moorish. Some Moorish taste. And so's the buzz.
More so than just sniffing it.
Oh, 100%, because it's instant. And it's when you blow the smoke out is when you really feel the buzz.
When your lungs crackle.
Yeah. And you get those ears ringing, the sweat comes on and the rush is just unbelievable. But this is why I'm glad you said why or how you wash it back and turn it into crack, because I want to show people who look down at people who are crack users. In this world of drugs, the weed head looks down at the cokehead looks down at the crackhead, the crackhead looks down at the smackhead. We're all addicts at the end of the day. And coke and crack are the exact same thing. Unless baking soda is an illegal substance and it's a killer, that's all you're adding to it. And if anything, you're washing the shit it's bashed with. Any bit of coke we have, you might say it's Bolivian, raw, whatever. By the time you get it, it's cut with something. So when you're burning that out and you're turning it into crack, it's probably cleaner than sniffing it. It's the same as well with a heroin addict. As funny as it sounds, the person who injects it is more cleaner than the person who smokes it on the foil. Because the person who smokes it on the foil is just buying the powder, sticking it on the foil, and he's smoking whatever it is cut with. But the person who injects it is burning the shit out.
Same
and
process.
He's drawing it into a syringe. He's using a tip filter from tobacco to filter all the shit out of it. And you look at the spoon after, and there'll be all bits of black and shit where whatever it is cut with, mannitol, whatever it is cut with will be left on the spoon. Not all of it, but you're burning some of the shit out what it's cut with. So these people who look, he's a crackhead, they're the same people who are sniffing on the weekend in the club toilets. And
I imagine, so all the substances that you were taking, it was to block out one form or another of anxiety and paranoia. You wanted to block out that emotion that scared you.
Yeah. And I look, let's not beat around the bush. Obviously, I enjoyed it. I love drugs. I for so long, I was so against it. When I did do it, I loved it. And I think it was like, wow, that release, because where I was so shouted, don't smoke fags, don't do this, don't do that by my parents, although they were doing a good job and they were trying to look out for me, it was probably the rebellious side of me. Don't walk on the green grass. Well, I'm going to fucking walk on the green grass, and I think that kind of was in me as well. So when I was released with it, I loved it. But it was a big part of it was my mental health, my anxiety, kind of suppressing a lot of my feelings once I started using, I was flat out, and I didn't have time to think of these bad things. Although we'll get into it, crack cocaine, it wasn't the best effects for me really. The hit was nice, the rush was amazing, but that come down only a minute later is hell.
So it don't last long, the buzz?
No. Some people can sit there and have a pipe and sit there for 10 minutes and enjoy that prang. The Streets, they made a song called Pranging Out. It's where you're literally digging after that hits, and that's where you get the curtain twitcher from. That's where you get the guy who carries a fucking knife with him in the crack house because he's worried everyone's out to get him. I can't deal with that because, of course, my OCD. Crack cocaine is a stimulant. So that's magnifying my OCD twice as much. But I love the rush. I love the quick hit. And then I'd go straight down with the heroin.
And how long was you smoking crack for?
Well, the same amount of time I was using heroin, but...
Or before you got...
Yeah, so this is, sorry. Because of where I was from, it was just so normal. Like some of the lads... We'd all say, like, we all played for the same rugby team, yeah? We all went out for a night out. At the end of the night, right, you'd all go, yeah, see you tomorrow. See you next week. But there'll be 3 or 4 of you who knows exactly where you're going. You've all planned it. You all know where you're going. You'll all make out you're all going, and you'll all meet up together. And it will always be, every age group, there's the 4 or 5 of you who smoke crack, And this is probably everywhere. People will relate to this. There's the 4 or 5 of you who would smoke crack. And I just ended up with them one night and I tried it. And because it was so normal, I always heard of people doing it. I just tried it the one night. And I didn't get a bad effect that time. It was only when I got addicted properly that I started to get those bad effects. I had quite a nice time on it. To be honest, I didn't really know what I was looking for that first time. But I did get a rush. But I thought, well, that's fucking shit, really. And kind of left it. But the way my addiction took place is I put it down into like 3 sections, and that's my mental health, bad timing, and the people I hang around with. What happened is I stepped away from my circle of friends due to a silly decision, a mistake that I made, which at the time was the end of the world. But looking back, it's trivial. And I basically fell out with my best mate. But because, we all hung around together as a gang, I stopped hanging around with everyone, And the bad timing comes into place because my uncle came out of prison during this time, who I always looked up to. And as I'm getting older and I'm visiting him, he's telling me these stories. How he's robbed this guy, how he's done this, how he's done that, he's done that. And I'm just like, I can't wait for him to get out of jail. I can't wait to see him. Because during this time now, when I've kind of, I'm not that kid knuckling down in school, I've kind of turned into a bit of a fucking dickhead. When I was in this naughty school type of thing, I'd go to this music studio. So I started becoming an MC. And I used to think I was this proper bad boy MC from Cardiff. Grime MC.
How did you end up in the naughty school?
I just stopped. I started becoming a person who wouldn't go to school, just on the knock all the time, smoking weed, disruptive in class. So they said to me, look, just go to it. It was called Imtech, the place on Dumballs Road. Go to Imtech on a Thursday and a Friday, So I started doing that instead. I didn't do my GCSEs. I'll tell a lie, I did, but I didn't really, put my all into them. So I started to become this kid who was a bit of a rebeller, really. On the weekends, we'd go over to Ely, which is on the other side of the water to us, and we'd have fights with the Ely boys. We'd make music and we'd send shots for them with our grime songs, and I would make diss songs and stuff. And Ely's a mad place. You've probably seen them on the news. They had the riots with the 2 kids who got it off the bike by the police about 4 or 5 months ago. It was in the news everywhere. It was the Ely riots. So
it's a rough area.
Oh, yeah. It's the second time they've had riots. They had the Ely bread riots in the 80s, which was well known. And then you had the second time. But Fairwater's a rough area as well, just a bit smaller. But that's what it was. And the other thing about my area, Ely, you'd get kids who were 12 peddling heroin on push bikes. Fairwater, It was the working man. It was the cocaine. You know, the heroin wasn't accepted there. You'd get run out, you know? So when my uncle come out of prison, I saw a totally different life. My uncle comes out of prison straight away. I started hanging around with him. And my dad is in a bit of a catch-22. He's in that paradox because he don't want me hanging around with my uncle because he can see me swaying off and he knows what his brother's about. But at the same time, it's his brother and he don't want to tell him fucking don't hang around with my son sort of thing. So I started hanging around with my uncle and saw a different life. He lived.
Your dad and your uncle were two different people completely.
They're just two different levels. My dad's the mature, grown, wise guy. My uncle's just a fucking nutter. I wouldn't say childish, but he is childish. He's fucking nearly 40 and he ain't got a fucking penny to scratch his ass with, you know? So they were two totally different people. So me and my uncle were more like brothers rather than being my father's brother who I should look up to.
On the same wavelength, despite the age gap.
100%. And well, yeah, you know, I was smoking, you know, taking drugs with him, you know, partying with him.
So yeah, so when he come out of jail, how did he know that you were smoking crack?
He didn't at first, obviously, and I wasn't really heavily. I tried it once, but he knew I was smoking weed. He knew I was drinking and whatever. So obviously, I would never blame anyone for me being on drugs. If I put blame on someone, there's a queue of 100 people who are going to blame me for getting them on drugs. Let me tell you. We all know what drugs are. When we go in school, we know what heroin is. We know what crack is. So I don't blame anyone. I started hanging around with him. And sometimes he'd be like, Cullan, fuck off. I don't want you around you at first. But
is that because he was using?
He was just, he was doing everything, mate. Like when he came out of prison, he obviously already built a healthy network of what he was going to do when he got out. And he was bringing people from London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, setting up lines in Cardiff. This, you know, we call it county lines now, don't we? This was before it was called county lines. I was seeing people from all over the country and he was setting up trap houses in Cardiff for them. And he was more like, because he was a smoker as well, he wasn't someone who was some nitty. He was a big, very intimidating guy, bigger than me, scars all over his face. He's got them eyes that like got no soul in them. And was just a wild guy, like, and he'd collect debts for him, he'd kidnap people, he'd do all sorts. But to me, I appealed to that, and he was 10 feet tall to me, so that was happening anyway. As soon as he came out, day one, he had things set up straight away. But he obviously got out, and because of the trauma of him in life, in prison, young age, killing someone, I think he got addicted to heroin in jail. Because I think it was around that time where they went from, mandatory drug testing. So it was weed in jail. And then when the MDTs came in, that's when heroin came into the system, because it would take 3 days to get out of your system rather than weed, which is over a month, give you extra days. That's how heroin came into the system,
Mandatory drug testing.
Yeah. So I think he got addicted in prison. Well, probably not addicted, but, he tried it. And when he got out, he thought, I fucking love that stuff. And then just became a heroin addict outside.
He's not the only one that would do that either, is he?
No.
No.
And even people who are not addicted outside, people smoke heroin in jail who...
Pass the time.
Yeah, definitely. So he got into that life. And at first, I'd hear stories, I'd see him always on a warpath, always on a mad one. Couldn't just stop and talk to him for half hour. He's doing something. But when I stopped hanging around with my mates and stuff, like I felt myself gravitating to him, doing something, I wanted to hang around with him and just be with someone, I was quite in a lonely place at that time, I had other friends I could hang around with, people I grew up with in school who were separate to my core friends, but that didn't appeal to me, it really didn't appeal to me. I'm using drugs at the time, so I felt I'd hang around where the drugs are,
And did he make you feel safe as well?
He did. It's mad. He used to take me over to fucking Ely to rob a drug dealer. And I'm in the passenger seat, loving it, watching him do it, coming back with blood all over his hands, fucking drive to his drive. And he wasn't driving. He'd be in the back. We'd be in the back of the car. He'd park up somewhere. He'd rob someone's fucking bag, come back with all blood on him. And I'd be like, what you do? What you do? And he'd be telling me how we fucking stabbed him or cut his face and took his bag. I mean, it's bad.
It's the polar opposite from separation. He's completely including you in everything he's doing, whether it's right or wrong and outright irresponsible. So you're going to gravitate to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes you feel older as well. It's like, hey, I'm getting treated like an equal, like an adult, like a man here.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing, which is mad, going back to that, like separation. So when I was living with my grandmother when I was young, and then, so I went to jail when he went to jail when I was 6. So I lived with him because my grandmother, that's his son, my uncle. So he was there as well as a young age. So when he done that and went to prison, I felt like a separation from him as well. So then when he's come back, probably that's why I gravitated to him more.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah. And it must have been mad for my mum and dad because, you know, they've gone from this boy who doesn't leave the house, you know, wouldn't go anywhere to not coming home for days on end, you know. So they knew stuff was happening. They knew something was up and, you know, they started to get worried about me and stuff. But he would never outright tell his brother, my uncle, fucking stay away from him. You know, it was a bit of an awkward one, you know.
So who introduced you to heroin?
So,
because in people's eyes, heroin is the big one.
Yeah. So I think it's who you hang around with, isn't it? Like if you hang around with 4 burglars, you're probably going to become a burglar. You know, if I started hanging around with you and your social circle, I'd probably become a fitness freak and
bald.
Probably bald. You know. Yeah, but it is, isn't it? It's that influence of it. You hang around with 3 fucking negative people, you are going to be a negative person. And I started hanging around with it. And my uncle lived in these flats that they're in the area, these flats, but no one from the area lives in these flats. So my dad said, don't go down those flats. He said, nothing good grows down there. No one from Fairwater lives there. They're all people who are vulnerable people, moved into these blocks of flats. And but to me, I loved that. You know, if a new girl moved in, she'd just been given a house. I'm straight in there, you know. Fucking, that's what I was like. And I loved it down there. So my uncle had a flat down there and his mate had a flat down there as well. And, you know, council life, innit? There's always an house party going on in the block of flats. Always. So I loved it down there. Started, like I said, when I started actually hanging around with him and he kind of just gave up that I was always going to be around, I started to see everything, you know. Guns. I remember holding this little Star 9 handgun and shooting it in the pillow in the flat, letting off shots in his flat, like just the block ringing, but just not caring. Shooting this fucking Star 9, probably been used in 4 murders in London. You know, no gloves, nothing. Just thinking I'm cool, taking photos like with this fucking gun. You know, it's just mad to think back now. And the one gun that was there, the girl across the road ended up looking after it, and she got arrested and busted with the gun. And
how long did she get prison time?
Well, she didn't. I know. I don't know what happened. She got arrested. I think she was on remand and stuff, bailed. But she didn't get time for it. I think the person whose gun it did went down and maybe she said something. I don't know. But, you know, it was just mad like to think that because it was a Star 9 and it was a little double-hand one as well. Shotgun with the cartridges. And they found it in her wall. But, you know, I started seeing stuff like that. I'm seeing lumps of fucking crack on the table, big lumps of heroin. And it basically... Because he was a smoker, but he wasn't your typical smoker. And this is what amazes me, really. And this is the perception of drug addicts that I'm trying to show the public that it really is. Not every heroin addict has no teeth, no family, no clothes, no house. It's not always the case. You do get legit brown heads, we used to call them, a legit brown head. Someone who works, someone who looks smart, someone who got a car, someone who looks at, you know, can actually hold down a conversation, and you would never think he was addicted to heroin. And my uncle probably was one of them. And he hung around with people who sold it and smoked it. So they had the nice cars, they had the girls, they had the chains. They'd have, I remember they used to have like a bowl of weed in the house. And they just, people would just help themselves smoking the weed as they were chopping up and stuff. It was like, it was all new to me, and it was like something I never saw, seeing lots of money and stuff, it was appealing.
I know you don't like the word, I call them corporate junkies.
Well, that's what
People
they are.
in the corporate industry that you would never think would even dabble, and that they have got a full-blown habit, be it cocaine or heroin, but they can function, they can get up, they can go to work, they can hide it from their family, from their wife for decades.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Oh, mate, 100%. Like, when I started to get the trust off some of them, I was just a fucking divvy. You would say to you, go and take that to the guy down the bus stop. And some of the people I saw were like bankers, lawyers. You would just never think it. The chef coming down in his chef whites, and he just don't look like a smoker at all. Remember, some of these addicts, they become addicts from all different ways. Some of them might have a bad back, was prescribed something, and ends up having to score heroin, becomes a heroin addict. These people are not just scum of the earth.
To clarify, when you keep using the term smoker, you're talking about, when you say a smoker, that's someone that smokes heroin.
A smoker to me could be heroin, a crack smoker, heroin smoker. Yeah, it could be that. And at the beginning, that's all I saw. Never really saw anyone inject it. And that was the other thing that kind of made me not, heroin's the end of the world. I didn't get that because they were smoking it in spliffs. They were smoking it on the foil. It was more classy than seeing a guy stick it in with a belt wrapped around him and fucking, like you see in the movies. I didn't see any of that.
It's an ugly sight.
It is an ugly sight. And I no doubt you will see that if you go down that road. But at the time, I didn't see that because I wasn't in it. And what I did see was a bit more glamorous, I would say. It was exciting. So what happened was, I started going around there all the time, staying over some nights, and then one night I went out with a friend who was totally separate to the ones I stopped hanging around with, separate to that circle. He was someone I went to school with, who I still had a close bond with, and we went out for a drink one night, and we were taking cocaine. And on the way home, I went home, we called it a night, about, say, 12, 1 o'clock, and I went back, instead of going home, I went back to the flats where my uncle lived. Didn't go to that flat, but I went to the block. And I went back to this flat where there was loads having a party. And there was all cans all on the table where they were all smoking crack. This ain't a dingy, like, shut fucking kid. Like, it's a party. There's some girls here, but in the kitchen, you've got the crack smokers, and that's what it was like. So I ended up smoking crack. I had some crack. And it wasn't like the first time I'd done it. The reason I didn't mind taking it is because I remember that first time I took it and it wasn't really much of a biggie. So I had it. And I don't know if it was the power of the crack or it was just the mix with the alcohol, which we now know is called cocaine, alcohol and cocaine. There's a chemical in your brain that it makes the drug called cocaine. And it makes its enzymes stronger. And I had the crack, and I just straight away just had that bad turn. The same turn I have with the weed, the same turn I have with any kind of paranoid experience. I just had that bad dig out. And one of the guys who was in the room noticed that. And he went, "Yo, you all right?" And I said, yeah. I was all fucking digging. And he went, "You have a puff of this." And I thought it was a spliff of weed. And I went, no, that'll make me worse. You went, "No, it's laced with a bit of gear. You'll be all right. And gear's heroin." He said, "Trust me, you'll be fine." And like I said, I think because of being around it, handling it, giving it, seeing these normal people taking it, it wasn't so much of a, "You cheeky fucker, don't offer me that." It was more like, "Shall I try it?" And I remember saying, "I can't do it. I don't want to be an heroin addict." He went, "Don't be so stupid." He said, "You got to take it every single day for a week straight to get a habit." He said, "You'll be fine. Trust me, have a puff." And during that time, I think the combination of the worry, of the praying out of the crack, I just took it off him. And I had 2 puffs. And I'll never forget it. It was just like all my problems just disappeared straight away. it felt like someone, like an angelic force wrapped its arms around me and just said, everything's going to be okay. And yeah, I just, like, from then it was a blur. But all I know is, I say it never physically got me because I went home that day and didn't touch it for a bit. But I always knew that I was addicted from that day because I knew that I was going to take that again. I was like, that was something else. And I think I knew there and then that I was going to be a heroin addict for the rest of my life.
You enjoyed feeling comfortably numb?
Oh, I like the song. Just like the song. They must have been taking it themselves for them to describe it like that.
You wouldn't put lyrics together like that unless you were.
Exactly.
But you wasn't sick the first time you took it?
No. So I went home. And in the morning I woke up with this big shame and guilt, asking myself, questioning myself, am I a smackhead? Am I a junkie? I've just taken heroin. And I'm waiting for like, something to happen, start tweaking out, when you hear all the cluckings, the shakings, none of that. So that kind of wore off, that I'll never do that again. And when that wore off, all I remember was the feeling I had, and I wanted that again. And for the first, go on.
Do you remember when you got home after the first time you'd done heroin?
Yeah.
You got back into your bed. So like a lot of people that do cocaine, they'll know that when they get in bed after a session on the nose bag, they're on ceiling duty, they're nervous, they're twitching, they're sweating, they're clammy, they're panicking, and they're probably going and having a big mouthful of whiskey to take the edge off. Yeah. When you first done heroin, when you got into bed, did you get any of that shit feeling, edgy, paranoid, not knowing what to do with yourself?
No.
You just sunk into that sleep nicely.
Mate, honestly, I remember rubbing my nose like that, quite an itchy nose. It's like you're just filled with this warmth feeling and like everything's going to be okay. It was only the next day when that kind of wore off that I felt like, fuck, what have I done here? I've taken heroin. Like, is my mum and dad going to find out? Is this the end of my world? Am I... Because I didn't know the feeling. I didn't know the procedures of how to be addicted. All I got told by this one guy was, you have to smoke it every day for a week to get a physical addiction. So that was that. And then I started to creep around my uncle because he didn't know that first time. He didn't know because it wasn't him who gave me the spliff. He wasn't there. But I started to hint to him that I've tried it. And he always used to say to me, if you ever touch, like he wouldn't mind if I was smoking crack or anything. He said, if you ever touch this, I'll fucking kill you. That's what he used to say to me. But, later on down the line, I don't think he's a bad person for it. He's ill. He's got an addiction. But he just kind of allowed it, when we'd smoke together. It kind of went like this, as I remember it. It went from, I was working at the time as well. Like, always had a little job, whether it was fucking Christmas temp jobs or hot washing a fucking restaurant or working behind the bar. Always had trying to get some money. And it went from something that I'd done once a month to every fortnight to every week until it became something that one day I remember I think I got sacked from my job and I had a bit of money. And I told my uncle, let me go back. For that year that I was kind of dabbling with it and I didn't physically get dependent, I literally did dance with that devil. I toyed with addiction. I'd only have it every now and then, so I didn't physically get the addiction. But it was like that because, like I said, it became more frequent and longer durations taking it. But for a long time, I couldn't score off anyone because my uncle would say to me, listen, you're not scoring off anyone. And I'm telling the dealers not to serve you. And they would say, I can't serve you. You're Macy's nephew. You'll kill me. These are these fucking big dealers who just refused to serve me because they knew he was my uncle. But what I found contradicting and very hypocritical was as long as I gave him the money, he would score for me. he would smoke most of it and then give me a couple of lines. Yeah? And he'd say, if anyone sells you this, I'll fucking kill him. But it was okay if I said, you are, and that's what it went like. I'll never forget the one time I was working for an agency in the Millennium Stadium. Wales were playing New Zealand in an autumn series. And because the agency I worked for, they mostly recruited foreigners, Africans, Asians. And because I was British, I'm assuming, and I speak well, and I was quite a confident person, I quickly managed to like climb their agency kind of ladder, and they put me through training to become like this team leader. So I'd end up working in places like the Celtic Manor, Cheltenham Racecourse, Chepstow Racecourse, the Millennium Stadium, all these places, and I'd be a team leader. So that means that I run the bar and I have the float of the money and all this type of stuff. So the one day I was working in the Millennium Stadium, and it was New Zealand, Wales. And I had like this unit and they give me the money. And what I'd done was, now I wasn't physically addicted by them, but this just shows how much I loved heroin and how much I wanted to take it. I was working.
And how old are you now?
18.
18, still very young.
It was 19 when I physically, so I was 18, working in the Millennium. Half time came. And bearing in mind, you know, security working there are like, they come to me like, if you see anyone suspicious who you think might be stealing any money, just walkie-talkie us. Yeah, no worries. Half time came. I've emptied the tills. I took about fucking 700 quid and whatever I could fit. I had these shoes, and on the soles of them, I cut the soles out like so I could stick the money in there. So I had 2 of my soles full with notes, and my bum cheeks filled with a couple hundred as well. Half time came. I just went and watched the rest of the game. I watched the rest of the game and walked out, and I thought, I'm going to get a comeback off this, but I never did. They rung me the next week to do the next game, which was bizarre, and I thought they were going to arrest me, but they never. But I walked out with that money, and I remember ringing my uncle, oh, Aunt, please, I got money. Please come and meet me. And he'd like toy with me as well. What are you ringing me for? What do you want? He knew exactly what I wanted, but he wanted me to say it like, do you know what I mean? Please, I wanted you to go and score some heroin for me, and I want us to have a smoke. Oh, no. And then he'd ring me back 2 minutes later. No, fuck off. I'm not doing it. Ring me back 2 minutes later. How much you got? You know, it was that like toying thing with me. And
is that banter, or did he enjoy controlling you?
I don't know. I don't think it was banter. I think maybe 10 minutes before he had drugs. 10 minutes later he ran out. Fuck, I might as well ring him. Go on, how much you got? I don't know.
And was that the first time you'd ever stolen for money for drugs?
No, because I did it with the weed, I think, you know, little things. But on a mass scale, maybe, yeah, like that was quite a big hit, like, you know, walking out of my work with over 700 quid.
That's risking everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Your livelihood.
But you don't even think about it at the time,
Your liberty.
Yeah, and that's why I say I was addicted from the moment I tried it with that spliff, but I wasn't physically dependent. But mentally, it could be just like a coke habit by then, because you're not physically dependent on it. But mentally, I'm addicted. So I was addicted, and I didn't care. And I met so it was a lot of that for the first couple of months of, I didn't know to score off. I'd have to go through my uncle to get it. And the times I haven't got any money and I want it, he's saying, no, you ain't touching fucking heroin. But the times I got the money, how much you got? Remember one time he came to my work. He went, where are you? He ended up knowing my paydays. Where are you? I'm in work, Aunt. Right, I'm coming to meet you now. Where are you? How much you got? Why? I'm going to get his things. Get his things. And then I thought, it was weird. It was all weird. But looking back, there was a lot of manipulation there. I don't think it was on purpose. I think it was just to feed his own addiction. But that's what it was. And I remember the first time I ever got someone to link me up with a dealer, so I didn't have to go to him no more. And he found out and he fucking battered the guy. I felt sorry for him. The guy was he battered him with an umbrella in his flat. You know, you think of a Ponzi umbrella, he was stabbing fuck out of his head with the fucking metal end. And
how did he justify that, seeing as he's guilty of
fucking selling drugs to my nephew? But
could he not see the hypocrisy?
I don't think so. If you ever fucking sell things to my fucking nephew again, I'll fucking kill you. And then I'd go back to his flat and he'd give me 2 lines at the end of his file.
Did he have other people around him that used to do the same thing too?
Oh, he was the alpha male out of everyone. He's a big guy, like, you know. Yeah, like the dealers over Ely would ring him up in the morning and say, listen, Macy, listen, don't rob my dealer. I've got a separate package for you. Just come and get it. Don't take the phone. Don't take the money. Just come and get your stuff. You know, and he'd go over for breakfast. And he'd have like half a queue or something for him. He's had his comeuppance. I remember one time he went over there. He's got a massive scar. It's like a shark bite there, and on his head and there where he got attacked by machetes. They were waiting for him. People ain't gonna take that, are they? People ain't. You know, they only take so much. But he's done a lot of that.
Did you ever see him be violent?
Yeah. I've seen it. He's been violent to me. You know, I've seen him do it to other people as well. Seen him beat up that guy who went and scored for me. And then I've also seen like the aftermath, so coming back with blood on him, you know, he's clearly just cut someone up pretty bad. Like,
what was the worst scene of violence you witnessed? Because you're still young as well.
I don't know. I think probably the worst I seen with him was when I got robbed. This is before any of this, actually. This is before. I got robbed in town. I got put in a phone box. I was so naive. These 2 guys got me in a phone box. They went, oh, yo, let me use your phone. I went in the phone box where there's a phone. They went, give me all your fucking money. Because I was going to town with my mates, cinema. And he must have seen that I had like 40 quid on me. It was only 40 quid. But they robbed me in the phone box, these guys. And when I went home and told my old man, my uncle's ringing up, who's the fucking guys? And we found out who it was. And we went to the flat they were staying, and they let us in the flat before these boys got home because my uncle knew the guy. And my uncle was hiding in the cupboard, waiting for these guys to come back. And that was probably the worst I seen. It was more like he was torturing them. He was stamping on their heads, fucking them up, like beating them to a pulp.
Weapons or just his hands?
Just his hands. I think, you know, whatever he can get his hands on, pick something up, throw it on him. But he wasn't using weapons for that. But he was known to carry weapons. He always had a Stanley blade on him. You know, like those, not like the thick ones, but like the long, skinny ones.
Yeah.
He always had one of them on him if he was going robbing or wherever. You know, but I seen quite a lot of violence with him. And I've seen a lot in jail with him as well. A lot of violence in jail. That was later on when, you know, I'm addicted and...
Yeah, so how quick did your heroin habit escalate from... Because you're doing it every month. I'm assuming you was doing it like after a nightclub. That was your wind me down. Then you was doing it every 2 weeks, then every week. And then before you know it, you're doing it every day. Then compounding on that habit, how much was you spending on heroin a day?
What? At the worst or...
the journey.
Yeah, when I'll never forget when I first got addicted. Like, you're honest, it's horrible. Clucking ain't nice. It's not nice. And the longer you do it, the harder the clucks get, and the more habit you have. You know, the more tolerance.
What is a cluck?
A cluck is a withdrawal from a drug. You know, they call it clucking or rattling. It's withdrawing from that drug. Alcohol's withdrawals are very bad. You could die off an alcohol withdrawal. But a heroin withdrawal is nasty.
Different level.
Because you can't die off a heroin withdrawal, but I do think it would probably be on the same level or worse than an alcohol withdrawal.
Well, because a lot of people, they don't even realise it watching this. They withdraw from alcohol. Anyone that has hair of the dog, they're doing that to take away the withdrawal.
Of course.
Yeah, but they won't associate it with withdrawing. But that's exactly why they need to take the edge off. That anxiety is you withdrawing from alcohol.
Yeah, and then it's that vicious circle, because if you're always having that hair of the dog.
2 drinks in, then you're on it again.
Yeah. When are you not going to have a hair of the dog, mate? Do you know what I mean? It's
So describe the cluck in detail, because I wouldn't have a clue. I've never done heroin.
So there's many aspects to it. The mental side and the physical side.
Because I've seen
your head shot a bit.
I've seen people cluck like they're scratching themselves. I've seen
that. So mentally your head is in a different space. You are fried. But because heroin, opiates is something that suppresses your receptors. Once you're on heroin, you don't care. You have no emotion. Your best mate could die and you will not shed a tear. You'll feel sad and you'll be like, why ain't I crying? Like it's very strong. So once the heroin comes off, your emotions come flooding back. Vivid dreams, everything's emotional to you. You realize all the bad things you've done. That's the mental side to it. The physical side is just everything from, a real bad flu, let's say, a real bad, violent flu. You get the shits. You can't control this. Your ass is pissing. Shits, the sicks, the stomach cramps. The stomach cramps are horrific. Feels like someone's stabbing you from the inside out. Like, like Alien with the fucking, where the alien comes out of his stomach. It's that arching feeling. You feel like something's coming out of your stomach. The sweats, the hot sweats, the cold sweats. You're warm, but you're cold. You're cold, but you're warm. I put, that uncomfortable thing you were saying about the itching. Say like you had a haircut when you was a kid and all the hairs in your clothes and you're itchy and you can't get comfortable. So you get that feeling as well. And you don't sleep for days. When, I done a methadone and a heroin rattle in prison one time. I didn't sleep for a month. I was doing double bird. My pad mate's sleeping. I'm up all night. Didn't sleep for a month. It's horrible, mate. And I always cluck bad. Always violently sick for days, filling up buckets and buckets and buckets of pure bile. It's not even sick. It's not even food. It's this green, toxic bile of the poison that's in you.
And I suppose you're only ever going to cluck either when you can't afford it or you want a cold turkey and come off it.
Yeah. I've done it once or twice where I always made sure that I had gear on me every morning to make sure I was better. You learn as you go along in your addiction. The first couple of years, you'd smoke it till it's all gone and you'd wake up in the morning saying, why did I fucking smoke that last bit? I'm going to have to get up and do a graft before I even get my fixes now. Do you know what I mean? But after a while, you learn to make sure you've got something in the morning.
That's interesting, that terminology you just used there. You said, I always kept a bit for the morning to make sure I was better. Yeah. Which the polar opposite to not being better, not being well, is being ill. Yeah. So you're identifying that you're now ill.
Yeah. It's people think that you take heroin. Listen, after a couple of months of using, you only take heroin to be normal. You don't take it and you feel like this. It's just to feel normal. It's bizarre, but that glow will always be there. Like, you don't care about anything. But those first 2 times you take it is that beautiful, warm, floating feeling. Not a problem, not a worry in the world. But after a month, when you are physically addicted, you're not taking it to get high. You're taking it to feel better, to be like a normal person.
It sounds like the worst drug on the planet. So literally
the most pointless drug.
That cozy, comfortably numb feeling is so short-lived, but then the addiction is possibly forever.
Forever.
Clucking, being sick, having to steal, having to rob, having to find, I'm assuming you had to find more and more money the bigger the habit got.
Of course, yeah.
Which was how big was the habit?
Oh, mate, fucking bad, big.
Go on.
Well, before I do that, I'll just go back quickly. So yeah, the times you would do a rattle would be if you haven't got the money. And there was times where I thought, I woke up, I physically couldn't get out of bed because I didn't have anything on me, and I just read it out. Or it would be if, Cullan, you're going up your hands, you're sorting your fucking head out, you're getting clean. You can't do this no more here. Go and do a rattle. Or if you get taken by the police, and you have to go to jail and rattle. So they're the times when you would be withdrawing. But yeah, my addiction got really bad. I was a gannet. I was a glutton. I'd only need a bag to be okay throughout the day. That would last me without withdrawing till like the night or the next day. But I wouldn't buy one bag, I'd buy 10 bags. And I'd smoke all them bags. And then I'd go out and do it all over again. I put my addiction into two categories, the first 5 years and the second 5 years. The first 5 years of my addiction was, well, it was always desperation, but it was amateur. Learning a lot about the game. You know, I've lived my life, everything given to me by my family, and now I'm out on my own. And now I have to find ways to make money. Because even that first year of being addicted, my mum and dad didn't really find out. So they were fine. Mum, can I have some money? Can I have 20 quid? Can I have 25 quid? And at the time, my habit ain't that big. So 25 quid will last me the day. 25 quid, mum. 20 quid, dad. Now, can I borrow 20 quid? And then when it started to get out, I couldn't do it. They wouldn't give me no money. So what I did was I became this person. I was labeled in the papers a professional blagger. Well-dressed man, well-dressed spoken man, hanging around uni campuses, tapping students for money. And that's what I used to do. Just go around uni South Wales, Swansea, Bath, Newport, Bristol, and I pretend I was a lost student and tap people for money. So that's what I did. Because do you know why I done that? I did not want to commit a crime. I didn't think I'd ever go to jail. I thought I couldn't handle jail. I was too soft for that. Remember, I didn't want to leave my fucking mum and dad's side. So I couldn't be going to jail for fucking X amount of months or weeks. You mad? So I tried to do anything that wasn't criminal. And I felt like me using my charm, my wit to get a couple of quid off someone. I'm not robbing it off them. I'm not stealing. I'm not burgling houses. Felt like I was justifying myself with what I was doing. So that was like the first 5 years. And then the second 5 years is when I started to go to prison. I met this girl, my ex-girlfriend, who I got on drugs as well. Very, very sad to say. She was a normal girl, you know. She was like a manager as a carer, but she had a set of wheels. And that was game over for me because that's when I discovered shoplifting. And that's where my money side came into it. Firstly, started off by just going locally, just nicking little fucking, you know, a polo top, selling it half price, or nicking a bottle of vodka, selling it half price, meat, cheese, you know, like the nitty type.
So you were still
lifting.
anything.
Oh, anything. And at the beginning, I was quite shit. But you learn, you know. And then within like a couple of months of doing that, that is when I started to fucking think, whoa, I can actually make a lot of money doing this. And the more money you make, the more drugs you take. You know, I never had a saving. I never had nothing to show for it. It was all for my drug addiction. But it went from that to thousands a day. Thousands a day I was making and smoking.
So you had a habit that cost thousands of pounds a day.
When I said, well, I was making thousands a day, raising, stealing thousands. I was selling it half the price. I was giving my driver half. So I was smoking on a good day. I'd go through $1,000. On a bad day, if I woke up late, say like I woke up late, say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not going to travel far. I'm just going to go to 1 or 2 shops out of Cardiff, come back, sell it, just make 200 quid, give my driver a winner. I got a winner. So on a bad day, I'd smoke £100 worth, and then I'd make sure I'm up early the next day, and we'd go up country. You know, that was a bad day. On a good day, I was making thousands. And
whatever you made, you smoked.
The next morning, I'm asking my mum for a fag. You know?
So you could have quite easily spent in 1 month 30 grand.
I worked it out. I've just done a thing with the, because of the shoplifting right now, the cost of living crisis. So I just done an article. It'll be out by the time this comes out with a big media outlet about my lifting, and I worked out how much. So when I did that Lad Bible interview, it said I smoked 70k a year on. I smoked more than that.
I was going to say.
A lot more than that.
Yeah.
It said on heroin, but it was heroin and crack. I was making, I worked it out in the time. I've stole over £3 million worth of stuff. And when I done restorative justice with cooperative shops, They were my favourite. Shout out to Co-op. They were my favourites, but I done restorative justice with them. I thought restorative justice was this, you killed someone and you wanted to meet the mother and say, I done fucking restorative justice for shoplifting. And when I did it, I was on a Zoom call during lockdown and I had these head of different regional managers, Southwest England, South Wales, Mid Wales, North Wales, all the managers. And they wanted to speak to me and why Co-op? And they worked out that I stole over 1.5 million worth of belongings from their shops, just their shops alone.
Wow.
And I was doing, Tesco's, Spar, fucking Lidl, all the fucking top clothing brands, all the fucking garden centers for the Yankee candles. I had a blip through, I was just hitting Yankee candles.
But where would you go to sell all the products?
So you have something called a fencer. You must know a fucking fencer, someone who buys anything, you have fencers, you have local people. If I'm going locally,
Market traders.
Oh, they love it,
When you said Yankee Candle, I thought you must know a market trader.
Yeah. And, it depends what you've got. But I had a buyer for fucking Tipex. I had a buyer for anything. And that's dangerous for an addict. Because if I had something, no matter what it is, and I sell it for the third of the price to this guy who will sell it for half the price, he's going to buy it off me, whatever it is. And it might only be 50p. But if I've got a bag full of them, that's 100 quid. And that's how I looked at it. Anything I made, I would have a car full, a van full, alcohol, aftershave, sunglasses, frames, 300 pound frames from fucking Vision Express. I've got a glove compartment full of them. I'll just sell them a tenner a pop. Everything I looked at was heroin. There was not many. People say to me, you could be a millionaire, mate. Well, I couldn't, because if I didn't take drugs, I wouldn't have done those things. I don't think I was good at what I done, but I was good at what I done because all I was thinking about was my fix. And if I get that there, then I can get that much of heroin and that much of crack. But, wherever you go, everyone loves a bargain. Everyone loves a bargain, Lee. And, you'd walk down the street and you'd have the fucking old lady pulling your arm off because she wants fucking detergents and blocks of cheese and the steaks for the weekend, the cooked dinner on the weekend. So you'd have those people who you could sell to all day. But I'll give you an example of what I do at my highest. So in the night, I'd speak to my driver, because this is the problem that a lot of addicts don't get, which I realized, and I never went without a driver for that matter. A lot of addicts, they don't think of the next day. They think of now, don't they? So they get a driver probably once in a blue moon. They go out shoplifting and they give the driver petrol money and a tenner. He ain't coming back for that. He ain't risking that. Anyone I went out with, I would split what I made, half, and I'd fill their tank up. I'd fill their tank up anyway, and I would give them half of what I made. Therefore, people were always saying, I'd have phone calls all the time. Do you want to go out? Do you want to go out? I'm struggling. Oh, my missus I'm in debt, man. Oh, let's go out. Mates I've known all my life who were probably struggling or whatever, they've got their jobs, but they'd ring me up on the weekend. Do you fancy going away for the weekend? Because they knew they'd make good money with me. And all they were doing was driving somewhere, parking around the corner. I was never the guy who would, rack and run. I was always cool, calm, undetected, and walk out. I never wanted to roll around with security guards. I wanted to go in and come out. And, if I got to come back 6 months down the line, so be it. As long as I got my blaze that day, I didn't mind.
You sounded like you was too busy almost to be sat in a crack den.
Oh, mate, I was the addict who went back to the dens and shared with everyone, broke off. I find with addicts, they come in pairs or gangs, and they have a right-hand man. I was a loner. And, even in, it sounds weird, but even in that world of addiction, I surpassed my uncle. To me, when I first started, I was reliant on him. And, he would ring me then, begging me for shit, because I made good money at what I'd done. I didn't look like a smoker, you'd see some of the photos, they're horrific. But when I dressed up smart and, you know, especially them younger days, didn't look like an addict. And I was able to get away with a lot of things and make a lot of money. So I was too busy for that. And, you know, it got to the point where, like, you know, I didn't want to smoke on my own. So I'd make my money, I'd go back, and then I'd smoke with someone. But it got to a point where some people, if you didn't show up at their house one night and you went back the next day, they'd get funny with you. Where was you last night? Because they're so used to you going back there and smoking their drugs with them.
All codependent.
Yeah, where was you last night? Fuck off, you know? But yeah, I was always on my own, and I was never someone who'd smoke crack in the days. You get some addicts who literally take anything and they smoke anything. And they you know, pills, crack, it don't matter what it is, they want it in them. I was a gannet, but I was a gannet for heroin. That was what made me better. That is what made me feel content in life. And that's what I loved. That was my poison. Crack was the thing that was on the side. That was like my, like the weekend you work hard, you have a pint. That was my pint. That was the crack. The heroin was my demon. And yeah, that's what it was. I was out all day. I'd make sure I was okay in the morning, have my bag, and then I was out grafting. And then I'd come back and I'd spend it all on fucking heroin and crack.
In the dens.
In the dens. And I'd cross, you know, I'm there dressed to the nines, looking smart, and I'm crossing thresholds that are proper fucking dives. And I'm looking down at these people. That's the worst thing about it is I'm the same as these people and I'm looking down at them because I feel like I'm better than them.
And are these the people that are just laying on a mattress without a sheet with needles hanging out of their arms? Pissing themselves, shitting themselves.
There is that, and I have been in places like
the
that.
train spotting scenario.
Yeah, there is that, but it's not always that. You know,
because that's my recollection of crack dens when I used to go visiting them with my old man were multiple mattresses, all stained with piss and whatever it was. Yeah. No sheets, used needles.
The smells,
you never ever,
the old DVDs, it's just all weird shit.
You never forget the smell of smack.
No.
It gets in your clothes, in your wardrobe, in your furniture.
Fishy smell, isn't it?
Horrible.
Fishy metallic smell. And yeah, there was that. There was definitely that, you know. I've had many times.
So you've been in that environment?
Oh, mate, I lived in it. You know, I'll never forget one night. This is when, before I was raising, this was when I was doing the blagging in town. There was this trap house behind the city centre, behind our train station. And I used to go out and I'd go into town on like a match night or a weekend. Cardiff's a busy town. It's a good night out, a lot of stags, hens, a lot of students. So it was not a problem to make money, whether it's a Monday or a Saturday. I'd go out, fucking round the corner. I'd be an hour. I got 150 quid. The other addicts, where they're finished, where they don't look after themselves, they don't wash, their teeth are gone, they're fucked. They couldn't stand me because I could get away with pretending I was lost and I'm trying to get home because I didn't look like an addict. So they used to think that I was an escort. They couldn't believe that I'd go out for an hour and come back with this money. People would say, oh, he's obviously selling his ass. He's selling his ass. I wasn't. I was genuinely out tapping. But
not that sort of tapping.
Yeah, no ball tapping, you know? But they couldn't believe it. So I remember one night I went out. I made my money, went there, smoked. But it was about 1 o'clock and I was still awake and I thought, that ain't me. I need more. So I went back out, come back again. I'm smoking. I'm on this little dingy chair. It was like a townhouse. You know the ones, them shared houses. You go in and you've got someone who lives there, someone who lives there. You go up and you've got two lives there. And the house I was staying in, found out later that the guy whose name it was in, was being, they call it cocooned. It's just a trap house, someone being exposed, someone who's vulnerable.
So a trap house is someone being used to hold the stock.
Yeah. The
drugs.
Well, the guy who lived there he was slow. He was mentally slow. And the person I knew was his pad mate. But I thought it was this guy's house. But it wasn't. It was the guy who he said who was mentally slow. It was his house. But you go in there and it was like, oh, that smell. It's just rotten on the skirting boards. They're just matted with cobwebs and shit. You know, there's clothes piled everywhere and this shitty little TV in the corner. And then the sofas around, all different sofas, you know, matted and full of grease and sweat and stains. And they're all around, they're all comatose. Some of them are there fucking with a piece of paper. They've just gone out picking a load of divvies. And they're, you know, when they're out, you know, pulling the divvies out and then making rollies out of it. It's just a fucking dive.
Men and women?
Men and women, working girls, all sorts. Working girls who are past it, you know, lucky to get someone to pay, you know, really fucking the bottom of the bottom. I am in. And I remember going in there and there was like, you'd have the sofas around, but there was like this one main chair in the middle. And I'd always sit on there because you had the table and I'd always sit there because I always had, the one guy who lived there, he wouldn't leave his house. He wouldn't leave because he knew people would come to him. So he just sits there all day and waits for people to throw something at the window and say, yo, Mike, let me come in and have a pipe. Because he knows these people are coming in and they're going to give him half. So his habit all depended on people coming there, whether it was to chop up or to smoke.
Were people coming there to sleep with the prostitutes as well? Sleep
with the prostitutes. And so whatever action was happening in that gaff, this guy is having a cut from it. He'd sit there. So, you know, if it meant that no one went there for the day, he would sit there and rattle until someone came. You know, I'm sure that once or twice, he probably done 2-3 days, no heroin, could have gave up and been clean. Someone knocks the door and he just back on it, like he just not get up and go. And I hated people like that because I had to go out and graft. And I did graft. Never once relied on anyone. Never once relied or bummed or, you know, let me have a pipe. I was never that guy. I was the one who would put on people. And, you know, I remember being sat on this table and I'm there and I'm smoking my shit and I'm passing him some and I'm, do you want a pipe? Yeah, go on. We're all piping and whatever. That's my gear. And I thought, oh, it's about fucking 4 a.m. now. I might as well get my head down for 2-3 hours and I'll wake up and I'll, you know, early bird catches the worm type of thing, you know? And I remember I'll never forget, I woke up, right? And this is what I mean about how dodgy these places are. I woke up and I can't feel my left arm. I can't feel it. I'm thinking I must have slept on this dodgy. You know, I've slept on it dodgy, definitely. It'll come round soon, you know, give it an hour or two, bit of shaking. My arm, I lost all feeling in my left arm for about 4 months. And I still don't know to this day what happened, but I am adamant someone fucking either injected me with something or I've pricked something. My dad was adamant my arm was going to fall off because he was like, you need to go. And I refused to go to, that's another thing with addicts. We refuse to go to doctors or hospitals. We'd rather self-medicate. You know, I never had a headache for fucking 10 years. You know, I never had a bad back. I have now, but I never had a bad back or a headache for 10 years because I just self-medicated. But I remember having this numb fucking arm for like 4 months. And I thought, I'm going to lose my fucking arm. And I don't know what happened, but I think someone in there fucking pricked me with something. And you're just in these mad places. Sorry. You're in these mad fucking places. Some of the places I've been in, some of the things I've seen in these places, some of the vulnerable people, and I've been close to death quite a few times.
Well, you were one of those vulnerable people. That was you. And that was your network. That was your social circle.
That was my social circle, mate.
Did you forge any relationships, like solid ones with these people? Or were you all just using and exploiting each other?
I've got 2 relationships with 2 of my mates who I grew up with as well, who fell to heroin and crack, and they're still on it now. Close with them. Love-hate relationship. But when we see each other, it's all love. He's probably slagging me right now, slagging me out because I'm doing well. But I would be slagging him out if I was still in that position, because I was a very hateful person during addiction. You do fun, you do, but no, you don't actually. I tell a lie. The only reason that me and him, those two, have that relationship is because we grew up together and we have no choice. In that world of addiction, there's no real friends. There's no real loyalties. The ones I laugh at are the two addicts who are together, because I just feel like there's no hope.
How'd you escape that?
How would you escape that?
No.
Once I don't want to say her name. Once I got that girl on drugs, the one who I met, she quit her job for me straight away. She quit her job for me, and she ended up driving me around everywhere. She made good money, because whatever I made, I'd give her. Any clothes I stole or any makeup, or she had it, she loved it. But her lifestyle changed and she ended up using with me. And when I went to prison, I remember I was on the run for about 6 months. This time I went. And the police found me in this bed and breakfast on Cathedral Road, which is like Chelsea of Cardiff, And I was like, how the fuck did they find me here? And I'll tell you how they found me now. I was on the run.
What for?
Shoplifting. And
on a prolific scale or a one-off?
So
I know you were prolific, but did the police know at this stage?
Yeah, so this is what I need to clear it up for people. The prosecutions and the police said I was a professional shoplifter. But anyone who I say that, they go, fucking professional, you went to jail 10 times. I was shoplifting every single day, 365 days a year. It don't matter how much I made the previous day. Even if I did have £500 in my pocket, I'm still going out raising. That was my routine. That was my addiction. Shoplifting in itself was an addiction to me. It was a way of life and it was a buzz. So I was doing that every single day and I was making hundreds, if not thousands a day. So to go to jail once a year for it, I thought that was pretty good going, And normally when they had me, they'd have me for a couple. They'd have me for like 5 or 6. So they'd probably wait for one and think, right, we got him there. And they wouldn't wait, they'd wait until they get a few. Otherwise, if they give me one, they're only giving me 4 weeks. But I would always get 10 months and 8 months for shoplifting, which is really unfucking heard of. They're big sentences for shoplifting. But because of the quantity and the planning, I'm not going to the local shop. I'm going out of my area. I'm going to a different country. I'm going over the bridge to England. So they didn't like that. So I was wanted this time. And this is about like the worry of families and stuff that come into play, because I done a podcast with my dad and we had to say 2 things that I had to say something to him that he's never heard, and he had to do something to me. And I'll just quickly say this before I get to the point. When I was in my addiction, a lot of times things happened. Things went missing in my parents' house, And there was times, I would probably take something. Sorry. There was times I probably took stuff at the lowest. This is at the beginning when I was desperate. But a Breitling watch went missing out of my dad's house. And also $6,000, 6 or 10, I don't know. I can't remember. A lot of, quite a couple thousand in an envelope went missing from my dad's car. It was inside one of his jackets. Both of those times, I took the rap for it. I didn't take the rap. It's fucking me. I'm the smackhead in the house. It's me. But I didn't take that money and I didn't take that watch. I know who did. One time I trusted an addict to come to my house. Next thing you know, the Breitling watch goes missing. But what am I supposed to do? He's got, in that world of addiction, it's hard to track people like that, don't they? Just fuck off. So he took the Breitling watch, and the money was a girl I brought into my parents. I was too trusting. I brought a girl to my parents' home to live with me for a bit. And my dad used to take this girl to work. Yeah, in the mornings. And the one morning he come home, or the one night I was rattling in bed, and he come home kicking off with me. And I said, what's the matter? He went, where's the fucking money? I went, what are you on about? Money? I mean, you best find the fucking money or I'm going to fucking kill you. And he he actually kicked me out of Cardiff. He drove me up to my nan's in England, and I had to live up there. He kind of exiled me from Cardiff for a good couple of months because of that. But I never took that money. But as an addict, you know, it's hard to not think it is you. And, you know, I've done it 100 times before. It is that boy who cried wolf. I genuinely didn't do it that time. So when we done that podcast, I said, Dad, I got to tell you, I never took your Breitling watch and I never done that. And he went, shut up. And I think he knows I never. So we had to do this thing in exchange, like, tell us one thing that you think you should tell him. And he said, right, Cole, you know that time you was wanted. So what happened was I was on Cathedral Road, wanted, and the police found me. And I thought, how the fuck did they fucking find me? And my dad said, we grassed you up. We sent you to jail. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my dad and my mum grassed me up to go to jail because they were worried about me. They were going on holiday. And the last thing they wanted was their son to be out running wild, doing whatever, being found dead in a fucking gutter. And the safest place for me at that time was prison. My dad grassed me up. My dad grassed me up.
How did you initially feel when he told you that? Because he's now telling you as a sober, but you're straight now.
Yeah,
you're clean, so you can.
If he told me when I was during my addiction, I would say, you're a fucking snitch, you fucking rat. Fuck off, don't speak to me. But because he did it through a clear lens, I totally see where he's coming from. And I just think, you little fucker, you know? But I get it.
Yeah, I can see why he done that.
Yeah.
If you're completely and utterly off the rails, you wanted for prolific shoplifting, he thinks things are going missing in the house. There's only, you're heading in one direction at a rate of knots, which is the morgue.
Yeah, 100%. And do you know what's funny? I've done a lot of work, again, back to that cocaine stuff. And it's about like the cocaine come down and of people who have died and all. These people, I've noticed a pattern, right, of Nicola Abraham. You need to check her out. She just went on Dapper's podcast. I interviewed Nicola and another two parents whose their kids killed themselves. And every time it happened was when they were away. The one father was on a stag do when his son killed himself. Nicola had the phone call when she was on holiday, killed himself. It was always when their parents was not around that they died. And it just makes me think, like, do you know what? Maybe my mum and dad just had that intuitional feeling, knowing that when they're on holiday, they're going to get that fucking phone call that he's dead. You know, and I just found it weird, like, looking back now.
And by that stage, they was acutely aware that you had separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So you can see how they've connected those dots.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'd sooner you be in prison, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Which I would say is true love.
It's true love. It's true love. My dad's tried fucking everything for me, mate. Honestly, he took me on holidays, you know. You're coming on holiday with us for 7 days in the fucking boiling hot sun. I'm fucking roasting in Santa Susana, rattling off heroin, sitting in the swimming pool all day because in water you don't feel the rattle as much. You just, I don't know. In water, it's weird. It's like as if like your bile in your stomach kind of floats and you don't feel the detox as much. So I just sit in the sun all day. And I remember getting back on the plane, coming back to Cardiff, and I'm spewing in a bag, still rattling. I'm still not fucking totally clean. They dropped me off 7 days through my withdrawal, and I'm scoring straight away. Ringing my dealer, yo, it's Cullan, come see me. I want 2 and 1. You know?
Did you ever feel suicidal?
Every time I go to the police station, have you ever thought about killing yourself? And they bring up this one time that I tried to kill myself. Took a load of drugs and I stuck tissue down my throat. And I was in bed and I was crying and I was a real mess. I was fucked. And every time, you know, I could get it in the back, I would force a bit more. And I was full of tissue. And my girlfriend at the time walked in and seen me half unconscious with all this tissue down the back of my throat where I was trying to suffocate myself. And that was the only time I've tried to take my own life. And I was about 20 then, living in a flat with a girl, start of my heroin addiction, like one of those lonely nights where I got no money and fuck my life. My family don't want to speak to me. And yeah, I just felt like there was nothing else I could do.
Yeah, that's sad. It's sad that you've come a long way since that sadness. And I was going to ask, did you ever form a romantic relationship with another user?
Like I said,
that wasn't a user before you met?
Yeah, romanticized before and then.
Yeah. Did you meet another smackhead and fall in love and?
Not fall in love. I've had like, you know, girls I've slept with who are addicts, and we've had little wild parties and stuff. Some of the things. But no, to answer your question, I never fell in love with an addict and we had a all-out relationship. I could, you know, I don't say it now because I've met the love of my life, I like to think, but I could have met the love of my life 100 times. When I used to go Studentville, I don't know if you can help me. I've lost my fucking bank card. I'm trying to get to my uni halls in Cardiff, and stay with me the night. And girls, beautiful girls, would invite me back to their fucking halls, stay with them, or their shared house, stay with them. As soon as they're sleeping, I'm in the fucking drawers, many, phone, see you later, gone. I did it to about I did it to loads. Terrible.
And did you only feel remorse when you become clean?
Oh, 100. I knew it was wrong when I done it, and I felt remorse and guilt straight away.
What's the worst thing you've ever done to get money to score gear?
I don't know. There's
one of the worst. Something that just comes to mind and think, I can't believe I fucking done that. Shame on me.
Robbing from a charity shop. They had a fucking Belstaff wax, $2,000 fucking Belstaff brand new jacket in a charity shop. And I took it. And I think he was priced at like 20 quid in there as well. So I could have made money on it if I just bought it, but I didn't have the money. That's one of the worst things I think the worst I've done. But there's one that stands out with this girl, this Chinese girl, exchange student. Two of them actually. I've said the one before. The one, she gave me a £50 note. I said I'm going to my uni halls. Please, can you help me get home? She gave me a £50 note. She said, promise me you give it back. I said, yeah, I'll give you my details. Went on my way. Obviously, I wasn't ever going to pay her back again. 2 days later, I've gone back to the same uni campus, wearing the same clothes 2 days. And I always swap my clothes. But I must not have clicked that I wore the same outfit, same location. But it worked in my favor because all I heard was, hey, you cheat me. And I thought, fuck, it's that girl. What am I going to say? And I realized I had the same clothes on. And I went, oh, hey, how are you? She went, oh, you cheat me. You said you give me my money back. You didn't give me my £50. I trust you. I said, you're not going to believe what happened. She said, what? I said, I haven't left. I lost the £50. I stayed in that bus stop over there for 2 days. I can't get home. She went, I don't believe you. I said, I swear to God. I said, look, I'm in the same clothes. She went, right. She said, if I give you £20, will you go back home and give me £70? I said, of course I will. She gave me the £20 and she never saw me again. She gave me 70 quid in 2 days. Twice, trusted me. And I fucking bumped her twice.
It's insane how you can go from standing in someone's kitchen, thinking you're a Friday night hero, drinking bottles of beer, sniffing lines of gear, exchanging stories, thinking you're James Bond, and everything's going groovy. And then as quick as you know it, you're robbing charity shops, burgling people's houses, exploiting females that trust you. And that's the substance at work, not the person. There are pieces of shit out there, of course.
Yeah.
You're certainly not that. That was definitely the substance at work, not you.
I remember a time, I hate weapons. I hate knives. Hate them. You know, I know people who have lost to knife crime, you know. I was on my estate. I've got a habit. I'm with this girl. And one of the boys I know is a weed dealer, lives around the corner. So I sees all the people who goes buying weed off him. And I seen someone who I knew from school, grew up with them. And when they've gone to pull up together weed, I've jumped out of the bush with a knife and robbed them at knife point. And it's not even like it's a lot of money, someone intimidating, I done him there. They're people I know who are going to give me the fucking money, but they can't believe that Cullan, what are you doing? Like, this ain't you. Robbing them at knife point for 30 quid.
Desperation.
Yeah, it's stuff like that are the worst things I've done. And again, getting someone on drugs is like, I can't live with myself. They're the things, with the hardest things to overcome. There's, I don't want to say getting others, but, kind of being an influence and having other people smoke with me. That's one thing. The other thing is taking advantage of vulnerable people. The other thing is robbing people who you can rob. And I think the other thing that's the worst thing, which I'll never kind of live myself with, is I sold my mum's engagement ring. And I sold, I don't know if it was an engagement, my grandmother and my granddad's ring as well. And my nan had me up there to do a rattle at the time, like she was trying to get me better. And you know what my nan used to do, lover? Like, she was so naive. She wrote, like, right, I went up to Northampton the first time, and as I've got out of the car, I'm rattling. First person I sees, I know he's a smoker. Yo, come here, bro, come here. And my dad lives on this like terraced housing. Come in the doorway. And he's looking at me like, who the fuck are you? Weird Welsh accent. Have you got any tings? He's like, what? I said, have you got any tings? He's like, who are you? I said, listen, I'm from Cardiff. I'm fucking rattling. I'm doing a rattle in my hands. Please help me. I'll buy you something, He went, he opened this wrap. He was only the fucking main dealer in Kettering Town at the time. Fucking had like fucking 100 wraps of both. So I thought, jackpot. I meant to be there to get clean. So I ends up buying off him. I goes in. This is all in the space of like 3 minutes as well. You know how addicts we were. Quick. My mum and dad are in the house saying, right, well, he's going to stay here for a couple of months. They haven't even seen me do this outside. I'm just pretending to get my bags. I've scored. So I've gone in the house and, for a week, my grandmother thought, and my mum and dad ringing up, how is he? Yeah, he's on his second day. You what I call? Yeah, I'm all right. I was booting upstairs for the fucking 5 days. I wasn't doing no rattle. And then when I started rattling, my nan was like, how are you only now starting to be ill? And I just opened up to my nan and said, listen, I've been buying. Like I said, it's hard. And do you know what my nan done? She went, right, this is what we're going to do. What's the dealer's number? His name was Soggy. Shout out to Soggy. I don't know if he's still about. Probably get arrested now for this. She went, give me his number. She rang him up. She went, hello, Soggy. She went, I'm Cullan's grandmother. Yeah, the one you saw the other day. Yeah. Can you come to the house? No, I don't know. He must have thought, what the fuck's going on here? But he come to the house, right? So my nan, she lived on this terrace house, and on the corner was a Premier with an ATM outside. She went, right, you are Soggy. There's my card. Can you draw me out 150 quid? She trusted the dealer, who's a smoker as well, to go and draw 150 quid out. He was like that. Okay, come back. She went, right, how much heroin can I get with this 150 quid? He went, are you sure? She went, how much can I get? She bought all the drugs off him, a couple of load of wraps, like, probably about 200, about 20 10 bags. Give me like 20 for 150. She went, thank you. She went, I'm not going to ring you again, but thank you for your service. That's my nan, yeah. She's Scottish, my nan, some mad jock. She goes, right, Cullan, this is what we're going to do. I go, what are you buying? And she went, right, we're going to start this week. You have 1 bag a day. The next week, you're going to have half. Then after that, you're going to have a quarter until my nan actually thought that she would wean me off heroin by buying me heroin and doing it that way. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, fair play to this woman.
That would make sense. That makes sense to me.
But it's not. I'm taking her for a ride there. And with heroin, it's not like alcohol. Like I said, with alcohol, you can die off alcohol withdrawal. So doctors and services will say to you, wean yourself off. Don't just drop dead because you could die. With heroin, you can just stop dead. And at the time, it was in my head. That makes sense. I will do that. But it never ever worked. By the time, I was, no, let me have two of them. They start holding me in it. After the week, I'm out scoring again. That first time I went up to get myself sorted, I caused fucking mayhem. Mayhem. I got jumped in a trap house by these lads in the middle of Kettering. I had murder up there. Coming home to my nan with fucking blood all over my face, some stranger walking me to my nan's. I caused mayhem up there, and I almost fucking led her into an early grave. That's when I took her fucking ring and her money. And she had me another 2 or 3 times after that, over the space of 4 years. It's just, it was some low shit I'd done.
Part of the 12-step program is admitting the low things that you've done and reaching out to the people and confessing and apologising. So it's essential as part of your recovery to be as honest as you are now.
Yeah.
There's no mileage in lying anymore, is there?
No, and I just want to put it out there because I have said on my podcast, 12 steps wasn't for me, hasn't been for me. But there's a lot of people out there it works for, and I love 12 steps for that. I'm on the angle of it don't matter how you get there in your recovery, whatever works for you, you fucking do. But there's a lot of things in 12 steps that I take into my recovery, and that's one of them. It is admitting my wrongs and trying to build those bridges. There's a lot of bridges I haven't built. I'm hoping they are just naturally being built just because what people see what I do now and where I am, and I still get people messaging me saying, yo, Cullan, do you remember that time you robbed my phone? And I'm like, no. Yeah, you asked if you could use my phone and I let you and you walked off. Yeah, things like that. Things that I don't even know because there was so many wrong things I'd done. But the ones I know that I've done wrong, who I can reach out to, I do. And I think the ones I can't, my way of paying them back is just being as open and honest about it, recognizing where I went wrong and trying to inspire others to change.
And you was never ever going to change until you got clean, was you?
Mate, every time it was for someone else or for something else. Every time I went to prison, it was like unfinished business.
What were all your prison sentences for shoplifting?
All for shoplifting.
Every single one?
Well, I think 4 of them were recalls because I didn't, but the original offence was shoplifting.
And how many times have you been to jail for shoplifting?
10, 11 times, yeah.
And how many years of your life?
I did about 3 years behind the door in total. So not much, but a weekend's enough in fucking jail. Do you know what I mean? Especially me.
3 years is more than enough time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
To be spent in a little cell thinking about heroin, thinking about what you've done, thinking about who you're missing, thinking about who's missing you. That's a lot of burden.
Yeah. And I've been to some mad jails. Birmingham was a mad jail. I didn't spend long there, about a month, but it was on my way to another prison. That was wild. Stokeheath, fucking mad jail. Cardiff, my local. I met a lot of good people in there as well. It's a shame, but I remember the first time I went to jail, and everyone was like, "Is this your first time?" And I went, "No. This is my only time. It's not my first time. It's my only time." I was adamant I was never going back to jail. I was adamant I was never going to jail until it happened. And then I thought, that's me done. And I remember my missus, the one who I first got on the drugs, she stuck by me on my first 2 sentences. And then she said, I can't do this anymore. But I remember her meeting me on the gates of Stokeheath. And she booked me the Vale Hotel, this really posh hotel where all the footballers stay when, they play in Wales and whatever. We got a room in the Vale Hotel. We got this, we got that. I can't wait for us to start a new life. Yeah, I was adamant I wanted to change my life. But I had unfinished business with heroin. I didn't have that one last smoke where I go, right, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you now. So let's have one more last dance. And I'll see you soon. I never had that with it, and you never will have that with it, but you think you will have that with it. So when they arrested me, off the off chance. And then my whole prison sentence, I'm thinking, oh, fucking I could do with a bag. Oh, just have one last go. That's the kind of mentality I was in when I got released. So when she come and got me, this is what we did. We drove all the way back to Cardiff, went to Cardiff Bay, bought a nice outfit, and then we were going to the hotel for the night. Mum and Dad, have a nice night. Yeah, we will. See you tomorrow. We drive down the hill off the estate. I go, pull over there. I need to go and see Bigsy. She went, no, you're not. I went, pull over there. I want to go and see Bigsy. And God rest his soul, he's dead now. But he was a user who lived in those flats that I knew he would know who's got things. I said, listen, I'm doing it once. I'm doing it tonight. I'm having a bit of fun. And I promise you, that is me done with it. And I spent the night in that hotel, which was meant to be a romantic night with my future partner, smoking things in the fucking hotel. Just like, what the fuck? And she still stuck by me. And I don't even think I had 1 day clean when I first got out. I think the next day I probably didn't have anything. But then I just went straight every day to smoking. Because as soon as you have it that one time, it suppresses, it suppresses you. You don't realize what you're doing wrong. It doesn't realize how bad this is. And you get back into that rut very quickly.
Did you have clean stints when you was in prison though?
Once or twice, but I was either on a methadone script or I was sniffing subbies in there, or I think the longest I've been clean was about 4 months, and that was in jail. Away from the temptations of I can get drugs whenever I want.
Cool. That's a long time to be clean, to throw it all away, innit, when you come out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm putting weight on, I'm looking healthy, I'm thinking about what I could do in my future. I used to come out with a bag full with business plans, everything, like really.
Well, you got a very good active brain.
Yeah.
You function on a high frequency.
Yeah. So all these things, I'm thinking, like, I'm going to do this when I get out, I'm going to do that.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Nah.
Never happened. My dad took me to London to have a private, he's trying everything on the internet, like, what's this naltrexone? It's an implant, £1,500, £900 deposit. You've got to be off heroin for 5 days to have this implant. Otherwise, you could be violently ill. We goes up to London. We stay in Belgravia, the Eccleston Hotel, this 5-star fucking hotel. Plush meal, takes me to Harrods in the morning, takes me to Harvey Nicks, proud of you, son. Buys me fucking a pair of Y3s, this international barber fucking coat, loads of shorts, loads of polos. She's your new life, son. I'm glad you're doing this. It goes to the fucking... I'm booting in the toilets, like, still. I had this thing that when people say you shouldn't have heroin for 5 days, I'm just thinking they're saying this because they want to be arsey about it, not realizing that it's a medical thing. Like, if you have heroin when you have this, you could die or you could be physically ill. I'm just thinking it's a procedure, So don't come in without eating, I don't eat for 24 hours. Yeah, right, I'll have a fucking, that's what I thought. I went in there, they went, sorry, Mr. Mace. They piss tested me before I had the implant. I don't know what to say, Mr. Mace. Your son's still got heroin in his system. My dad lost the deposit, £900. Fucking drove back home to Cardiff, awkward as fuck, bag full of brand new clothes. The poor son even stopped in the fucking services, bought me a Burger King. He was that good for me, like, even, And then we went back a week later. No, tell a lie. Oh, sorry, Lee. A week late, what he said to the doctor, because he felt so bad about it, he went, right, I'm going to give you these tablets to take. When he's 5 days clean, give him these tablets. This is the oral form. Get him on the course and then get him back up for the injection. Fucking the 5th day came. My dad goes, you meant to take that tablet today? I went, yeah, give it here. Again, I was not stopped smoking. Violently ill, straight away, spewing, shitting.
So when you were using heroin, and we're talking lots of it, you must have been able to hide it really well.
Yeah.
For your dad not to know, because when I think of a heroin user, I think of someone sitting in a crack den on a sofa with springs poking out, piss and shit everywhere, and they're gouging out.
Yeah. So like those.
That's how I picture a smackhead.
the telltales from my dad was how I smelt because of the smell of heroin.
Mm-hmm.
If I had brown on my teeth, the gear on my teeth, my eyes were pinned, and of course, if I started gouging. So if I've come home I've been out all day doing my thing, and I come home and I sit on the sofa with them for an hour, and I start gouging, they know I'm on the gear. But like I always did, try and keep pride in myself. People see photos of me, I've got scabs all over my body. I didn't have any from there though, because I'm trying to present to people that I'm not a drug addict on the outside. You know, I still got the same teeth, and you know, I didn't inject, I smoked. So I should have no teeth really, but there's no excuse for an addict not to have their teeth. You should still be able to brush your teeth. And I think I've done that well. Like I still tried to take pride in myself. But the difference with someone like that and me is I still had my parents' home to go to. I wasn't homeless. I could have a shower if I wanted to. I could wear different clothes if I wanted to. And I think that's what enabled me. I think my mum and dad enabled me. I didn't want to change. I didn't need to change. I didn't hit rock bottom.
And they had no idea they was enabling you.
No. There was times I was on the streets for a week or two. They'd have me fucking back.
And they knew you was on the streets.
Yeah.
They were probably hoping it would teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
And stop.
Yeah.
So how many years before you got clean, I mean, we're going to move on to how you got clean. How many years were you using heroin for?
Just over a decade. Just over 10 years.
10 years. And the first 5 years you was an amateur. Second 5 years you was a seasoned pro.
Yeah, like I was making a lot of money. I was a good shoplifter. Like I said, in the morning, night before, I didn't tell you, night before, plan my route. Where are we going? Manchester. Okay. Drive up to Manchester, 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Straight from Manchester, start typing in on Google Maps, cooperative shops. And then we'd hit every shop. We tried to avoid the city centres or the rough, like kind of deprived areas because they're getting battered by the Manchester smokers or it's mad. Our travel, it's the same in business. You get a fucking bouncer, you get a building contract firm from Cardiff working in fucking Guildford and the Guildford firm are working in Cardiff. Just don't make sense, do it? Just stick to your own. But obviously with shoplifting, you're known. So you have to travel out. So I'd go on Google Maps, type in cooperatives in the nice posh towns and villages, and I'd work my way down every shop until I got South Wales. If the car's full at Birmingham, I'd go into Birmingham, I'd look for a corner shop, I'd go, yo, I got alcohol here in the car, do you want to buy it? Random corner shop. 9 times out of 10, you say, yeah. Sell it, got $1,000 in my pocket. Let's start again, Birmingham to Cardiff. That's what I would do, go straight home, sell it to my local buyers who would buy everything off me, split it with my driver, party for the night, start all over again the next morning.
The thing is, going out, living on the edge, taking those kind of risks, it's another addiction, it's gambling.
I
mean, because
I loved it, mate.
Addictions normally come in threes, don't they? Sex, drugs, gambling, alcohol, they do normally come.
But that would be me then. The drugs, the sex, and the shoplifting. Because, those, I say I go back and party, I'm going back to a fucking flat where there's a chick, and I'm doing what I'm doing, It was that buzz around it. I couldn't go out clubbing with my mates and go on boys' holidays. So my way was doing it another way.
And so were you sleeping with the prostitutes that are in the dens?
I've slept with 1 or 2 prostitutes. I never fucking paid a prostitute. I'd give her a couple of things and we'd have it. But I done it right with girls who didn't smoke. I didn't really go for the fucking, the smokers. As sad as I went with normal girls and then they ended up becoming druggies. Sounds sad, I know, but that's what it was. Because I thought it was better than that. I always thought it was better than others. Although I'd help them and share my stuff with them, I thought I was better than them. And that's bad.
You sound like you was the leader of the pack.
I don't
or the Robin Hood of the smack.
I definitely was.
That's what I mean.
I was the Prince of the Thieves.
I'll go out, I'll risk my liberty, I'll do this, and I'll make sure I come back with all these goodies for everyone to share and smoke.
That was me.
So shoplifting every day, it's gambling, it's adrenaline, it's a rush, it's another buzz, which can sound glamorous to people, but obviously by no means was that decade of your life that was stolen by heroin glamorous. So before we talk about you getting clean, because that's when the inspirational stuff comes in, just one of the few terrible worst memories of being a heroin addict that contributed towards you deciding I'm going to go clean were?
There was a few, and there's a few relating to deaths. I think it might have all been fun and games to me. I had a nice few easy escapes. I think every time I was in a police cell and I was going to prison, I was sorry. Wasn't sorry for what I was done. I was sorry that I got caught. And it felt like it was the end of the world for me. But there was 2 or 3 occasions that I thought, this is fucking wild. I need to get out of this world. One time I found a dead body. Man jumped off the fucking Kingsway building in town. I was out there tapping for money. And an addict had jumped off the building and I found him. And I was thinking, what? If I wasn't here doing this, I wouldn't have witnessed this. And it affected me a lot. That did really affected me. I couldn't even stay and ring the police. I had a warrant out for my arrest. And, if I stayed, I was going to jail. So that really played something on me. Like, what the fuck am I doing? The second one was, there was a man, Carl Donnelly, Yucca. He was a drinker and a user, well respected in Cardiff, a good guy, just fell off, at a certain age. Just, he lived his life and just wanted to do drugs type of thing, In my area, there's a lot of drug use, there's a lot of drugs culture. And basically, these people in the block of flats he was living with were, every time he got paid his PIP, his money, they would fucking come round and use, take his money type of thing. So he said. So I was going into town one day on a bus and he's on the bus stop and he jumps on and he comes to me. And this is what I'm saying about, I'm that guy who fucking looks after people and helps me. He goes, "Oh, Cullan, what's happening, mate?" He said, "Oh, mate, I'm fucking so down. Can I come with you?" And I said, "Mate, I'm going out on a graft. I does my own thing. Please, I promise I'll hold my weight. I will do it." Meaning I'll come out and I'll fucking shoplift with you. Because anytime I did go with anyone in a car, they were pants. And I just thought, what is the point in them coming with me, right? None making nowhere near as much as I am, but I'm splitting the money with them. So he's like, "Please, I'll come with you. I promise I'll make my money." I said, "Well, what's the matter?" He went, "I get paid tonight at fucking gone 12 and everyone's in the flat and they're waiting for me and they're going to take my money off me. And I don't even want, not only do I not want to go there, I don't want to stay there tonight and I've got nowhere to stay. Can you help me?" So I phoned up. I knew a few gaffs around the area. And they all welcomed me, the same as I always had a driver. I always had a flat to go because they all knew that I had things. I rang up this girl. I said, "Listen, I've got a guy here. His name's Carl. You don't want to go home tonight. Yeah, he gets paid at 12 and he thinks they're going to bully him for his money. Can he stay up here? I'll come over tonight. I'll pass through with him. Can he stay over?" Yeah. No worries. So we went out. Even though he was getting paid at 12, he still come out with me and made a raise. I made about 300-400 quid. And he took a couple of things. I thought, fair play. We went back to the flat. We're smoking. I'm sharing the stuff with him. Now, I told you, I'll always keep 1 or 2 things for the next morning, innit, yeah? So we had a good night, and it was me, him, and it was these 2 girls. There were 2 Nicolas. The one Nicola lived on ground floor. The one lived on top floor. He was going to stay in the ground floor one. We drank all night. We smoked all night. It was a good night. These people are all older than me. They're in their 40s. I'm 25, But we're all there listening to 80s. We're all saying, let's pick a song we like and tell us why you like the song. We were all having a good time and whatever. And he was like, "Thank you so much, Cole, for this. I really fucking appreciate this. Thank you so much." Come to the end of the smoke and I was going to go home. And the Nicola who lived upstairs was like, "Oh, come upstairs with me." Whatever. So I went upstairs. I went, "Right, I'm going now, mate. I'm done, right? Nick, promise me you'll look after him." Yeah, no worry. He's going to be my gimp for the night. He's going to be my little gimp. That's what she was saying. Well, okay. that was that. So I went upstairs with this girl. 5 minutes later, I made a knocking on the door. It's him. Oh, what are you doing? I said, go back downstairs. I've got you a place to stay there. Just go. Come on, smoke that last thing with me. Smoke that last thing. I said, mate, I ain't got another last thing with you. Come on, I come with you. I come with you. I know you got a last thing. I said, listen. And he was on about crack, he was. And I didn't have no crack. I only had gear left. I said, listen, I've gone and left. If I did, I would have smoked with you. Fuck off now, please. Just go down. Or that's it. He kept on knocking. So I had to say to that Nicola, I said, look, I'm not staying here with him knocking. I'm going home, right? Take care. So I leaves her flat and I goes downstairs and he's following me out of the block. Come on, what are you being like that for? Come on, he's getting rowdy now. I'm like, you cheeky cunt. I've got you a place to stay for the night, right? I've smoked all my shit with you and now you're trying to call me a liar over a fucking pipe. Nah, you're a fucking dick. I said, listen, get the fuck away from me. Now, this guy used to be a fucking karate double dan black belt, whatever, innit? Whatever. He's like, come on, I'll fucking do you and all that. And I kind of got a bit fucking angry with him and I went to fucking like that and he flinched. I went, you fucking lot, right? Fuck off. And he went, now go and do some fucking cartwheels, you fucking weirdo. Now what he meant by that was
Roly polies.
my OCD. Yeah. And it fucking hurt me when he said that. I thought, who the fuck are you talking about how I act when I with my OCD? I went, you know what? I said, why don't you go and fucking die, you little weirdo? Go and die. I don't know why I said it. But that was it. Goes home. For the little fucker. Next day, I goes to another flat, not far away from there. Yo, Cullan, you heard about Carl? So what? You went, he's dead. I went, what? You went, yeah, he's dead. I said, no, he's not. I said, I was with him last night. I gave him a flat in. He went, Nicola's. I went, yeah. He went, they've been found dead in Nicola's. He fucking died. And my last words to that guy was, go and fucking die. And I thought, is that me saying that, wishing that into existence? Like, it really affected me, that did. Really affected me badly. And that was another time. This man asked me for refuge. I got him refuge and he dies in the place I seek refuge. And I also told him to go and fucking die. Now, there was some suspicious circumstances around it. They thought that Nicola might have been involved. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was natural causes.
Not a fatal dose.
That's what I think it was. Like, when I say natural, I mean in the world of drugs, it was an overdose because apparently there was withdrawals in his ATM at 3 a.m. So he obviously went back to his, I got paid at 12. Let's go and get some drugs. You know? And there was talk, he was found black and blue and everyone thought he meant beaten black and blue, but I think they meant he was just cold. But then a few months later, Nicola, the girl, she died in that flat as well. So the two of them who I knew there died. And then the final, maybe I'll tell you the final straw what made me turn my life around really, and was partly because of these bad things I've seen that made me realize like this ain't fucking me. I started to, my body was really deteriorating. Like I said, I only injected once in my life and that was early on. And it was a blessing really because I was scared of needles and I didn't know what I was looking for. I smoked all day. I was dosed up to my eyeballs with heroin when I did the injection. So I didn't really feel it. Saying if it was the first thing I did in the morning, my first hit, I probably would have, loved injecting because it's all about that intense rush you get when you're doing it. And I didn't really feel it. So that was the only time I'd done it. So when I was smoking, not only was I smoking heroin, I was smoking crack, smoking fag after fag. My chest is still, I don't know if you can hear it really. It's really bad now. But I used to go asleep and like girls I'd stay with would wake me up in the middle of the night like, you okay? And I'd be like, what's the matter? And they're like, I thought you was dying. Like, listen to your chest. You need to get that checked out. Really bad. So there was that, and it was also, I can't do jail no more. The last jail sentence I done was hell. I was put on security lockdown. I was twooed up with my uncle. We were both twooed up.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, and you only got to Google him Google him, and he's got like, supplying HMP Park with a fishing rod. He's always security threat because he's been known to be throwing parcels over the wall for people. So I'm mace. And I'm tuned up with mace. So you're not going education. You're not getting a job. You're on closed visits. So that last sentence I'd done was really a fucking headache for me, you know? And I thought, I'm 29 and I'm locked in a cell 24/7 with my fucking uncle who's doing my fucking head in, you know? So that was there. And then lockdown came. And I got, me and my driver, we got caught coming back from Hereford one day. We just got greedy. The car was full. The car was full of goods. We must have had about 10 grand in there. And we said, should we do one more stop? And we didn't need to, but we did. We went to this shop that sold Rab coats. We were like waterproof Rabs, so North Faces. Mm-hmm. We went in there and we took about 6 of them. And it was in a place called Ross-on-Wye. It's a small town on the River Wye, coming back to South Wales on the M50. And as we're coming home, they've obviously fucking got our registration and put us on the fucking MPRs or whatever they're called. And as we got to the Celtic Manor is like it's where they played the Ryder Cup a couple of years back. It's a big grand hotel in South Wales. It's just off the M50 coming into Newport. And on the roundabout, there was 3 T5s, police cars. I said, that's for us. He said, shut up. I said, I'm telling you now, they're for us. I said, we fucked it today. And I remember I was rattling as well. I was on my way home, fucking withdrawing from heroin. I just wanted to get home. I thought we got fucking loads here. And as we comes around the roundabout, they come off the fucking roundabout. They're behind us. I said, don't go on the fucking motorway. I said, don't go on the motorway. You went, let's just get back to Cardiff. I said, turn back around the motorway, please, and go to the McDonald's on the roundabout. Lucky we did, because if we carried on going on the motorway, they would have pulled us in Cardiff and I would have got remanded. I got bailed because I was in a different city that I wasn't known. I was in Newport. So we went back around the roundabout. They followed us. I said, I told you, we're fucked. So they had us. I got bail, unheard of. But, you know, I'm prolific. You know, they know that I'm a heroin addict, so if they bail him, whenever the court date is, he's going to carry on shoplifting until that court date. So what we need to do is we need to remand him. But I didn't get remanded. I got bail. Went back up to Hereford. They gave me a suspended sentence and tag. I thought, that's me done. I remember the last jail sentence I had. I just don't want to do this no more. And at this time, my dad knew what I was doing. You know, it's just 10 years of it now. They've tried so much. So it got to a point where my dad would take me to school rather than me be on my fucking own 2 a.m. down the docks. You know, he'd give me 20 quid year and year to fix myself. So it got to a point where I said, Dad, listen, I can't do this no more. I need to sort my head out, but I just need time to work out what I'm going to do. Can you fucking, can you pay for my habit? And my dad, when I got sentenced, for about a month or 2, he was funding my habit. And this is during lockdown. I get a phone call off my driver. Listen, bro, we need to go out, mate. I need some money. You need money. I know you need money because you're bumming off your dad every day. Let's go out. And I said, listen, no, I can't do it. I don't want to go to jail. I got tagged. I can't afford to have a hiccup. He talked me round to it. Anyway, we decided to do one more go. We go out on a raise. I said, listen, I'm not doing Wales. I'm not doing Ross-on-Wye. We need to go somewhere else. So we decided to go down like Somerset way, down the southwest of England. We've done it before, but not as much. I never had no comebacks from there. So I felt quite comfortable going down there. So we went out that way. And this is the thing. People, you know, during lockdown, people think because it was coronavirus, oh, you can't shoplift no more. Let me tell you, I never made more money than I did during lockdown. Because for the first time ever, I was allowed to wear a mask and no one would say nothing. You know, it's funny, I was actually breaking the law, but I was abiding the law. I was abiding the law at the same time. So for the first time ever, I was allowed to wear a mask. You know, people wanted to stay 10 foot away from you. You know, as if you were shoplifting. Oh my God, he's a drug addict. Don't go near him. He got COVID. So like I was making loads. And during lockdown, that first lockdown, before I got clean, the weather was beautiful and everyone was fucking drinking. How many alcoholics were formed during that lockdown?
Yeah, no shortage. It was insane.
So everyone was just like, give me some alcohol, Cole, give me alcohol. So I was making a lot of money. And sunglasses. Everyone wanted sunglasses. So, yeah. So we went out one last day, we smashed it. Now, during this time, because it's lockdown, I'm on a methadone script. And I've been on methadone many, many times. It's a farce in my eyes, but we can talk about that another time. I'm on a methadone script and I'm getting weekly takeouts. Every week, my dad would take me to the clinic to get my takeouts, just in case I sold it, lost it. You know, he always wanted to make sure I had my meth safe because, you know, it's dangerous. Methadone's a strong drug. If it gets on the wrong hands and it's got Cullan Mais on there, you could get in trouble if they die. So he'd always make sure he took me down there. Happens to be the day I'm going out shoplifting. It's my takeouts. Hang on a minute, Cole. I got to take you to get your meth. I said, Dad, listen, I got to get up on the road early. I'm on tag. I got to be home early, so I got to leave early. Oh, no. Anyway, I talked him round to it. I'm going to get it. I promise. It'll all be good. I'll have my meth with me when I come home later. So anyway, he goes out, does our raising. I managed to get back in time, sell the goods or sell a bit of the goods, score the drugs, and I think I was like a minute late on my tag. What do you think I done though? I forgot the fucking meth. I left it in my mate's car. I rings him up. Yo, listen, I've left my meth in your car. Please, I beg you, please put it in your house. Keep it safe. Yeah. No worries. Now he never took any drugs or anything like that anyway. But I trusted him with it. Like, you know, he only took crack. He never took any downers. So in the morning, I wakes up. My dad goes, "Where's your meth?" I went, "I left it in his car." He went, "You fucking idiot. I fucking told you. Ring him up now." And he was kicking off, my dad. And I didn't know why. He was like, "Ring him up now. Go and get it." So I rings him up. His missus answers the phone. "Hiya, Cullan, I said, "Yeah, everything all right. Is he there?" "Oh, he won't wake up. He won't. I've been trying to wake him up since 5 this morning. He won't wake up." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'm coming over because my meth's here." "Well, this is the thing, see, Cole. We had an argument last night and we had an argument because he smoked all his drugs and he ended up selling the rest of your stuff in the car to go and get some more stuff." And I'd say to him, "No, don't. Wait for Cullan." We had a massive argument. And when he came in the house, when we were arguing, he brought a bottle of your meth and said, "I'm going to drink this," threatening me to kill himself, sort of thing. That's what she said. And I said, "No, you're full of shit. I don't believe you." She was an actual addict, and I still believe to this day that she did take it. But he drank a bottle of Jack Daniels, she said, and he's been using loads of drugs. I goes over there. He's there. He's fine. He's all good. He's breathing, you know. So I goes upstairs. I gets my meth. I thought I'll leave him to it. I'll speak to him tomorrow or later. I'll find out the truth. But I thought she took the meth. That night, I get a phone call off my old man that I don't like saying his name, but he's dead. My mate, like, he's dead. I said, "What?" I said, "No way. When he's dead. He's fucking dead." And you know, like I said, I've heard that before, that he's dead or they found him dead, and it's never a nice feeling. But this, it's like I got the same way of having crack or heroin. Something just fucking hit me, and I don't know what it was, but I started getting this weak feeling all around me. It was like my immune system dropped, and straight away I started getting these bad stabbing pains in the back of my chest, like I couldn't breathe by my lungs. And it was that bad that, like I said, I always avoided doctors, but I had to ring a doctor because I was really fucking worried. I thought, have I taken something? And if he took something that's making us ill, is it COVID? I didn't even believe in COVID, but I'm asking this question because it's during this paranoid time of lockdown. So I rang the doctors. He said, "You need to come down. We need to do a checkup." They checked me the same day he passed. They went, "Right, you need to go to Landock Hospital. You need to go up there right now. You need to get tested." I said, "Is it that serious?" She said, "You might have a severe infection. You need to go up. You're struggling to breathe." So I went up there. I had all these bloods taken. He said, "Yeah, you've just got an infection in your lung. Here's some antibiotics. See you on your way." I went home. I go home, my head is shot to pieces. My best mate, my friend who we've done jail together, we've driven all around the country. Like me and him were co-defendants and more than just work partners, like we were friends, you know, for a long time, is dead. All sorts going through my mind. Anyway, I goes to bed, my chest killing. Goes to bed, I wakes up at 3 a.m. It felt like a hallucination, but it wasn't. I was just like, didn't know where the fuck I was. Couldn't breathe. Literally felt like I was suffocating. I managed to crawl out of bed, scream to my mum and dad, I can't breathe, I'm dying. I wakes up 3 days later in hospital. I woke up with like needles in both arms, like 2 in each, you know, arms. I got a mask on. I tries to take the mask off. I can't breathe because it's back on. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? What's wrong? They won't tell me. They don't know what's wrong. They're testing me. I ended up finding out I had pleuritic pneumonia and I caught sepsis whilst in there as well. And obviously I'm withdrawing off the heroin and the methadone. I said, am I going home soon? Do you know what's the matter with me? They said, we're having to keep a close monitor on you. It was nip and tuck at first, they said. The first 3 days, they didn't know if I would, you know, come out of it. The tubes were antibiotics, intravenous, because the oral ones didn't work. They were giving me scans and stuff. And I that was my lowest point. That was me thinking that I'm no longer going to live. I'm going to die. I remember they took me in this room and they said, right, these are your lungs. And there was like 2 pictures and x-ray. And they were like dark. They were both dark. And like, say like that's one of the lungs. There was like a white patch by here. And I said, so is that the infection there? And they went, no, that's the healthy bit. This is the infection. My whole lung, they were both infected, flooded with pleurisy. They said we're trying, but the antibiotics are working slow. It's not coming off. Because all the things I've smoked all this time, you know, it gives pleurisy foil. They say you got to burn the foil. Mm-hmm. I never did. I just wanted to smoke the fucking heroin, Jamie. Why am I going to worry about burning foil? I'm smoking heroin, you know? But it took its toll. I ended up getting pleurisy, and I know people who have died through it. But they then took me in this room. They said, look, it's not working, the antibiotics, and the sepsis is getting worse. We're going to try and physically withdraw the infection out with a syringe. And I've got a video of it. And they're there with a needle about this fucking big, with like this big fucking syringe with it, trying to draw the infections out of my lungs. They were going through my back. Like, I'm awake as well. It was fucking horrible. And whilst I'm in there, I'm thinking all sorts. I'm having these bad dreams. I'm crying. You know, I'm putting blame on my friend's passing. What the fuck is going on? And I had some sort of a spiritual awakening in there. You know, I'm not religious, but I do believe in a higher power. And I fucking prayed to that higher power. And I said, please, let me get out of here in one piece. I said, you know, I thought I was going to come out with a fucking gas mask and a fucking, you know, there was Zimmer frames, you know, with a fucking CO2 attached. I thought that would be a good thing, like, you know. So I didn't know if I was going to survive. I said, please let me get out, and I promise I won't do this again. And I promise I will tell my story to people, and I will help as many people as I can. And then this little man came walking in, this little nurse, a guy called Darren. And he went, right, I've spoken to your nurse in the drug service. And it's known, if someone finds your medication in someone else's property and they die, it's not good, mate. You know, I'm thinking, am I going to go to jail for like leaving my meth in his car? Do you know what I mean? So they goes to me, right, there's 2 options. You can stay on your methadone script, crack on the same as you always have been, but you'll have to pick up your methadone every single day, including weekends. You will have no life. You won't be able to go anywhere. And that's what methadone is. They're liquid handcuffs. You can't go nowhere because every day you're dependent on that dose of methadone. And it's hard to get takeout. You have to give clean tests all the time, which I never did. You know? So, and the only time they gave me weekly takeouts, this has happened. So he said, look, you can either go back on your methadone every day, or you can be one of the first men or first people in Britain to be a guinea pig and try out this new drug, which is called Buvidal. And now I heard about this because just before I went in, you know, there was talk of it, but no one was on it yet. And do you know what I thought? I was against forced vaccinations. Forced vaccinations at the time was a massive topic. COVID, the year to wipe us out. The first people are going to wipe out are the junkies with this fucking Buvidal. That's what I thought. And I looked around me and I was on B7 in Heath Hospital, which is like respiratory. And everyone around me was like 80 plus. You know, I'm 28, 29. Mm-hmm. Everyone around me is old age pensioners on their deathbeds. And people were dying around me. 2 people died around me. And the one guy who died said to me, what have you got to lose, mate? Just try and go on the injection. What have you got to lose? And when I do my presentations at the police or wherever I go, I have a photo of him from hospital, because without him saying, what have you got to fucking lose? I wouldn't have been on it. And like Darren said, he said, look around you. He said, see all these old people around you? Your insides are worse than theirs. Right. If you go out and carry on, you are going to die. And I thought, if I do go back on the meth, I'm contradicting what I'm praying anyway, that I'm going to change my ways. So why not try it? And I thought, you know, I'll try this injection, and in a week's time, I'll be fucking back on the meth. But here I am talking to you now, 3 years later from that injection, a totally different person to who I was when I went in the hospital.
And you had your first one in there?
First one was when I left. As soon as I left, so I was stayed on my dose of methadone. 2 days before I left, they took me off the meth and they put me on oral buprenorphine, Subutex, because that's a lower dose than methadone again. They're trying to titrate you down to this low dose and then put you onto this injection. So I've gone down, I'm doing my heroin rattle on, but the heroin and the detox of the meth wasn't as bad as it would be if I was at home doing it, because I was out of it anyway with this illness. I couldn't tell the fucking difference with sepsis, you know, pleurisy,
clucking.
It was all fucking one. So I just said, yeah, whatever. And I done it. I had the oral Subutex for the day. And then the day I got released, I had to go to this drug clinic and have this injection in my stomach.
And this injection is called?
Buvidal. Buvidal. It's not shouted about enough, mate, honestly.
I've never heard of it.
Exactly. And it's fucking disgusting, and that's the fact. When I done that Lad Bible interview, I had people from Scotland, people from Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Brighton, Newport, everywhere. Newport, Isle of Wight, not Newport, Wales. Everywhere, you know? How do I get on this injection? I want to change my life. Sorry, mate, your country don't fund it. That's what I have to say. How sad is that?
What actually is Buvidal?
It's a game changer, mate. Honestly, it's there, right, for you to be free as an addict, to get you clean and to get you free. You don't have to pick up your methadone script every day. You don't have to pick up your Subutex script every day from the chemist. This is something you take once a month, okay? And you can either take it to stop being ill or stop using. I use mine now. I used it originally because I wanted to not be ill and I wanted to get off it properly. I use it now as a safety net. I use it just in case I do have that fall, because I think about heroin all the time. It's just something, it's an addiction I think of all the time. But I learned to deal with it in ways now that I know I can deal with it. I will come off Buvidal. I'm still on it at the moment. I'm too scared. I've seen people rush off it, see. I've seen people come on Buvidal, 8 months' time, I'm off it. I'm Cullan, I'm off it. They're back on heroin now. I'm too scared to break something that's already fixed. Do you know what I mean?
And you don't want to be that person ever again, do you?
No. And look what I've achieved on it.
Well, we're going to move on to your achievements. Just Buvadol, because I can't believe the effects it has.
Yeah.
And it has had. So you've had 36 injections from the time you went clean to now.
Yeah.
3 years, 1 a month. So the first injection that you had, how did that make you feel? Was it an instant, I'm not withdrawing anymore?
No, no, because obviously my dosage of heroin and methadone was quite big. And
so did you whittle that down?
Yeah, but not greatly. Like, you don't notice it. And I didn't notice it because I was already clucking for fucking 2 weeks in the hospital. Do you see what I mean? So I've gone onto this low dose. I think the problems I had with Buvadol was reality, was my mental health, was patterns of behavior. When me and my missus, when we moved from our flat to our house, she'd still drive to the flat sometimes just on autopilot. If you do something every day for 10 years, you go out, you shoplift, you sell the stuff, you buy the drugs, you make the foil, you smoke a fag, you burn the fag for the ash, you put it on the foil, you run the lines, and you do that again every single day, it's fucking hard to just have an injection once a month and not have that daily fix. It's like, well, this is gonna be okay now. I'm not gonna feel ill tomorrow. I'm not gonna feel ill the next day. You know, a lot of it is that pattern of behavior. It's doing. It's the doing. It's the chase. It's not just taking. It's the pattern of behavior. What we do, being on autopilot. You know, of doing those physical things. That was massive for me. Thinking that, you know, and addicts will relate to me when I say this, but, you know, having a warm, sugary cup of tea in the morning once you have your meth, so it all comes up and you have that glow for an hour or two, and then you start to gouge. You know, you don't have that with Buvadol. It's things like that that are hard to get your head round and adjust to. I think next year will be the year I will be off everything. But at the moment, the reason I'm still on it is not because of worrying what it'll be off when I come on. It's just worrying if I did ever have that fuck up, that if I took it, it just wouldn't have the effect. It's that safety net for me.
Yes, incredible. I mean, sitting opposite you for the last few hours, and you've structured your whole story perfectly. You've been fluent, completely on the ball. You've not lost track. You've not lost your trail of thought. You've presented yourself excellently. It's clearly working because you are fully functional.
Yeah. And
no cluck, no agitation.
No. But like when I first started, there was a time, I'd say I was on a lower dose. I'm a big guy, and there's people on a bigger dose. I ain't on the highest dose, but I was on the lowest dose, the 96. And towards the end of the month, I was getting like fucking really aggy, sweaty, and I just felt like it wasn't working for me. I was thinking about gear. Although I knew I wouldn't have took it, it was, I know a couple of lines would fix this. So I bought Subutex off someone off the streets, and I was using the Subutex the last 2-3 days to time me over, because it's the same thing, but it's in an oral form at a lower dose. But now when I got that tackled, I'm perfect, mate. I'm gravy like it, and it's working fine for me now. And it is a game changer. And I think those people who want to come off heroin, Buvadol is the way forward. There's a lot of people it's not going to work for. Like, it's not a silver bullet. I'm not going to sit I do a lot of talks for the company. I go to Birmingham, Manchester, London, speaking to services and prison services, telling them, invest in Buvadol. This will save you a lot of money in the long run. It's a game changer. Yeah, but I'm not going to sit there and say, this is a silver bullet. Let's round up every heroin addict and jab it in them, because that's not the case. You've got to have that structure and support. And in Cardiff, where I work in services, we've got great structure and support and a peer force. We've got a culture in Cardiff where We are trusting and giving more responsibility to the drug users who are willing to change their lives. And we pay them for their time, volunteer work and everything. They need some sort of structure and stability in it as well. If I'm on the streets and they said, right, you're going on Buvidal, imagine giving some guy, right, who's living in the fucking street, he's got no one, right, a fucking Buvidal injection. He'd want to kill himself. He wouldn't want to be sober on the streets. He's going to want to take drugs. If I'm on the streets, I want to take fucking drugs to mask this problem. It's hard out there. It's cold out there. You look down out there. You're treated like shit out there.
No one really cares out there.
No one really cares out there. So you've got to be careful who you give Buvidal to. Another thing we're seeing a lot of now is a lot of people, they've tackled their heroin addiction with Buvidal. So they feel like they can have a treat with I've tackled my heroin. I only smoke crack now. But their crack use is 10 times as worse because they've got the money for it. Or they go on to Valiums instead of heroin to come down. You see, I was the perfect example. Do you know why? Because I told you earlier on, I wouldn't smoke crack on its own. Crack made me weird. This is me. Your normal addict, if he's got, like, crack and heroin come hand in hand, yeah? If he's got 200 quid, he'll buy 10 whites and 2 brown. The 10 whites are the buzz, the crack, and then the 2 browns at the end to make him feel bad and to come down. Me, I was 10 brown, 2 whites. Nice little 2 pipes, yeah, that's me. And then I'm just flat out on the gear, smoking myself into oblivion. That was me. I know some people, they only got 20 quid. They've got a heroin habit. And they'll buy crack instead. And then they'll smoke it. They'll probably, I'm clucking. And you think, because people just, the crack is so strong. Crack was, it wasn't nice to me. I was a weirdo on it. Roly-poly central, So I was like this. As soon as I blew that out, I'm picking up my foil and I'm smoking the heroin to come down. People used to say, what's the point in you buying crack? You couldn't even enjoy the buzz. But my enjoyment was just the taste, the ears ringing, the blowing out, but I don't want to have the come down date, so I'll go into that. So once I tackled my heroin addiction with the Buvidal, I was never going to take crack without heroin. You mad? So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone with Buvidal. Some people are that 10 whites, 1 brown, or white before my fucking fix. So if they tackle their heroin problem, they're still going to smoke crack. If you find someone who is like me, who, crack really was just a treat, they can only smoke crack if they got something like heroin to come down with, then get them on Buvidal. But if they are a fiend for crack, one way or another, I wouldn't even bother with the Buvidal. Well, I shouldn't say don't bother with the Buvidal because it's also a harm reduction tool. It's also saving lives because you can't overdose off crack, but you can overdose off heroin. And if you tackle your heroin problem with Buvidal, then you're saving lives. So there is that aspect to it as well. They might be, he might be smoking crack, but we know he's not going to die. So there's all different things you got to think of when giving Buvidal to someone.
Yeah, certainly recommending it. So I'd imagine a lot of people that are addicts want to be clean. They don't want to be addicts. They don't like who they are. They're not in a good place. They're not having a good time. And the fear of becoming clean is becoming clean. It's that process, the cluck, the withdrawal, the tripping out, the cold turkey. Yeah. So with Buvidal, does that eliminate or at least reduce the cold turkey?
Yeah, it reduces it massively.
Because that's going to scare a lot of people to come. Because I'd love to go clean, but there's no way I can be fucking locked in a room tripping out.
So the biggest shock and surprise for me and anyone else who's been on it is the lack of withdrawal. And you feel like you're cheating. You're like, nah, it's going to come. It's coming through the post any day now. And it never comes. It's mad.
That's unreal. In your mind, I know that you're using Buvidal. Are you clean in your own
100%.
So you're clean.
Mate, like, listen, this is our culture.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like, when you look at 12, I was saying like 12 steps, you could be on fucking sertraline and you're not clean. You know, you're taking something. I think we need to get away from that culture.
I totally agree.
People, there's medication out there, and I don't agree with some pharmaceutical companies, but you know, my missus' kid, he's autistic. He takes melatonin in the night to sleep. He needs that. Doesn't make him a druggie. You know, why, you know, the culture of calling someone a junkie. Yeah. Look at Maggie. She's 80 years old. She don't have to go behind the fucking glass, a window pane to drink her fucking morphine, but she got morphine for a bad back. She's not a junkie though. You know, someone who's going through chemotherapy, someone who's, you know, who's antipsychotics because they're going through psychosis. You know, the one who's depressed, who's on antidepressants. It's necessary sometimes. And I don't see why. Everything else in life it's all gone through this progression, haven't it? You know, you can be who you want, you know, and so many things have been accepted now, but not drug addiction, especially heroin. It's still down there as the stigma, you know, addiction. I think gambling and things like that have come a long, long way, you know, but I think with heroin, you know, yeah, well, you're on methadone. Oh, you're still a junkie. I agree. Methadone is a farce, and you know, it never helped me. But who am I to say it didn't work for someone else? And someone takes their methadone and they've never touched heroin since. I guarantee there's people out there that's done it for. I don't feel like I'm on drugs. I've never been so ambitious in my life. I've never been so calmer. I'll say calmer because I'm still quite wild. I've never been so content in life. I'm a different person. And that's down to Bouvardal.
So let me just recap. We'll go good, bad, and ugly. Let me just recap the bad and the ugly.
Okay.
So before Bouvardal, before you had your spiritual awakening and all that devastation that come with it, that crescendo at the end, you was out thieving, cheating, deceiving, robbing, lying, behaving like someone you don't like or any normal human being wouldn't like. You were skinny as a rake. You were covered in scabs. You was a con man. That's who you were. That's what you were doing when you had that shit in your system.
Yeah.
So that's what you were doing. That's the bad and the ugly. Now let's talk about the good, because there's now plenty of that. There's good in abundance now. So what is Cullan Mais doing now? What are you doing now that that shit isn't in you dictating what you do?
I'm doing all I can, really. I think I work 7 days a week. I don't have a fucking day off, really.
Talk about your work.
Yeah, so...
Because you didn't hold down a job before, did you?
No, never did, mate. Like,
or a successful business.
Well, CVs and shit, like, you know, those first couple of years, it was like 2 months here, 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 and then it was a gap. There was nothing. And I've realized now that gap in the field I work in is lived experience. That's my experience. That gap there is what I bring to the table in my job now. So yeah, I'm 3-4 months into my recovery, let's say. I'm hanging around with my dad. I'm going to work with my dad because I realized that if I hang around with good people, positive people, I'll probably think positive as well. When I first got clean, I thought I was going to go back to writing music. I thought I was going to write everything that I've been through into music. And one day someone asked me to do a video of some of my low times in life. And I'd done this video and it went all over Facebook, locally, let's say, you know, in a couple thousand shares, hundreds of messages. People, wow, I didn't realize it was that bad, or I remember you, and thanks for that. I needed to hear that. And it made me feel good. And I obviously made some other people feel good with it. So I thought, oh, something there. Maybe I could do something there. And I kept it on the back burner. At the same time, it's mad. And this is what people in addiction and people going through shit need to realize. You know, when my dad, right? I used to say, why don't you just stop and things will happen for you? And I used to say, but life's shit. Like, I got a criminal record. I'm not going to get a job. He said, listen, it will come. Just get clean, one thing at a time, it will come. And you know what? Once you take that first, it all came for me at the same time. So I guess contacted by this woman, Rondine, who's someone who's an ex-smoker herself. She did 10 years in a Kenyan prison. I've done a podcast with her. She's now the head of Gwent Services, which is like one region in Wales. She's like the manager now. She smashes it. She rings me up. She says, look, this Bouvardal's a new thing. You're one of the new ones on there. Would you like to do a peer review? We'll pay you for your time. And basically you just kind of come up with a questionnaire to ask all the new patients how they found it. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it not? In the hope that we can get more funding from Welsh Government to carry it on for another 3 years. I got involved in it. The reason I got involved in it at the time was because I still had that tag on and that fucking suspended sentence. And I thought, if I start doing something positive, I can go to court. Because think, I still got a court date. I'm in hospital dying. When I get out, I think, I genuinely want to change now. There's no fucking way I'm going back on the landing. Because they could put me back into that frame of mind. And fair play, I tried to do a couple of things. And when I went back to court, they could see the change in me. And they always remanded me. They always sent me down. And they could see mercy, and they gave me mercy. They could clearly see I was serious this time. So I done this survey, got involved in the volunteer, and I loved it. I felt I had a lot to give. It was something that I knew a lot about, and I really enjoyed it. And I realized that I could do something here. This woman, Rondine, actually gave me the belief that I could work with everything I've done. I could be trusted with, having a wage packet, paying tax and all these things that I thought was not possible. So, it all came to a kind of a head where I kind of decided then with two other young lads who were really looking up to what I was doing and changing my life around, that I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start a podcast, through that fucking, that video I done. Because he said to me, the lad, he went, listen, you don't want to be a fucking MC. You want to write, you want to talk your experiences. So I started a podcast called The Central Club. The very week that I launched that I was going to do this podcast, Rondine said, there's a job going in your city of Cardiff as a service rep, someone who is going to talk about lived experience, co-production. You will hold services accountable in your city to make sure that they have people with lived experience like yourself having their say in the services to make them better. I thought, that's fucking me. Went for the job. The first week of launch of Central Club, I had a phone call, you've got the job. So now, what I do now is, I'm a drug worker. I've been doing it for the last 2.5 years in the city I love, the city I run ragged. Most of the users know me through either prison or using with them. And, I'm helping a lot of people. I'm helping services get better, by my experience. And I'm someone who basically champions and platforms the voices that are unheard, because we know how services should be run more than people who have just come into a job who have no experience. So that's what I do there. And then, of course, the Central Club. I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to, once I was an addict for so long, I was always perceived as a junkie. Once a junkie, always a junkie. He might be clean now, but in 2 weeks' time, he's going to be a smackhead. In a year's time, he's going to relapse. Mark my words, he won't last. Same with cheats. Were you cheated? Once a cheat, always a cheat. I don't think that's true. I think you can turn your life around. And what I saw was in the media world was people like Tommy Robinson, people like, let's give an example, Craig Bellamy, a football player. These people who they've got names, they've got reputations, they've got stuff stuck to them that people perceive or stigmatize. The same way I feel stigmatized, other people feel stigmatized. And what I wanted to do as a podcast was not only inspire and champion recovery, but also change the perceptions and ideas of other people in the public eye. And that's where the Central Club kind of came from.
I mean, I know that there's so much more that we can say, but that's The Central podcast inspired me. So I want anyone that watches this, I encourage you to go and like and subscribe to Cullan's page as well. You can find him on Instagram, Cullan Mais or The Central Club, and also his YouTube channel. I'll certainly be watching him more regularly. So the podcast is great. And the charity work, you're running with that solid?
Yeah, and I'm doing well with that. I would like to eventually kind of incorporate the podcast and the charity work, but charities are so PC. I might have to go and do my own thing, you know. I feel like sometimes they're too out of touch, or they have to toe the line a bit too much. Addiction ain't that. Addiction is chaotic. Addiction is chaos. So it needs to be replicated in services, I think. And that's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I've ticked so many boxes off these last 3 years. Like it's unbelievable. Speaking at police headquarters in front of police officers who have kicked down my door, arrested me, hated me. You know, going into unis and speaking to people. I'm going to HMP style next week. I'm going into fucking prison, man. I can't fucking wait, like, you know, but being able to do these things that I never, ever thought I could do, that people in addiction need to realize is a possibility for them as well. They're crying out for people like us, Lee. They're crying out more than ever. More than ever, they want lived experience. They want that. So it's definitely out there for people to see.
I know that we could go on and on and on, and I'd really like to spend another time talking about your achievements from becoming clean. And maybe we can meet up and do a part 2, and we can take it from this point and move it forward. But I think the podcast will inspire a lot of people, will let people know that they're not on their own, they're not alone. You're walking, talking, living proof that you can change if you want to change. And also, don't just change, make a change. You are helping the masses out there. It's almost like you've become addicted to helping people now. Yeah. You've become addicted to being a heartful human being.
Well, that's it. Like, of course, people say to me, I can't believe it's not just the fact you've changed your life, but you're actually helping people. I could have easily have just got off drugs, just sat in a fucking bedroom and played Xbox for the rest of my life. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make a difference and be that change, like you just said. And I just want to let people know, like, you know, I never thought I'd ever have a fucking decent missus and a family and old friends and a network and meet people who are respected and, you know, I don't want to say the word worship, but they're idolized, they're inspiring people. And I'm able to meet these people and yeah, like I just never thought it, like, and
Cullan, you've become that person.
Yeah.
You are now the inspiration. And that's what you've got to take to bed with you every single night. In fact, when you wake up, when you're sipping your cup of ambition, you've also got to remind yourself, I'm now an inspiration.
Yeah.
Every day. That's your job now.
Yeah.
Which you're doing extremely well.
Oh, mate. Are you going to get me crying in here?
On that note,
Liam,
we're going to do this again. I'm going to come on yours.
You're going to come on the Central Club. We're going to... This, like, again, there's a lot that our stories are extensive. Everyone got a story, haven't they? You know, and when I was watching, listening to your story on James English, there was a lot there that I related to, and I would like to take my angle on it, you know, and see where it goes with you as well. I would really like to get you on 100%. So, and yeah, thank you for having me down, mate. Honestly, it's been a real pleasure. Honestly, like I said, I've done Lad Bible. I've done one podcast with a friend who's local. I haven't done podcasts. I'm so glad that I was able to come and share my story with you.
Yeah, I'm delighted you did as well. I really, I feel this is a good exchange, and yeah, I feel full, and I feel inspired.
Yeah, I'm glad you do, mate. I'm glad you do.
Let's go and get some food.
I'm fucking starving.
Let's go.